Close your eyes. Step away from the noise, the screens, and the frantic pace of the modern world. Let the relentless hum of the present day fade into a profound velvety silence. Tonight we are traveling backward through the vast winding corridors of time, crossing oceans of sand and centuries of human history. We are journeying to a world where time was measured not by the ticking of a digital clock, but by the slow movement of the stars across a desert sky and the patient rhythmic scrape of stone against stone. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of the ancient Silk Road in the year 880 Common Era. The air around you changes, turning crisp, cool, and thin. You are in the legendary oasis city of Khotan, nestled along the treacherous southern rim of the Taklamakan Desert, a place known to ancient travelers as the Sea of Death. Outside, a bitter, biting desert wind sweeps across the dunes, carrying the faint, ghostly whispers of shifting sands. The night is immense, dark, and freezing. But just ahead of you, a warm, golden light spills from the narrow window of a modest mud brick studio. As you step closer, the harsh chill of the desert night begins to melt away. You push aside a heavy felt curtain and step across the threshold into a sanctuary of absolute peace. The room is small, intimate, and perfectly insulated. In the center, a small charcoal brazier glows with a soft, steady orange light, radiating a gentle, enveloping warmth that thaws your senses. The air inside is rich and deeply comforting, smelling of wet stone earth, the clean burn of charcoal, and the faint sweet aroma of freshly brewed green tea cooling in a ceramic cup nearby. This is the workshop of a master jade carver. Go out here, surrounded by sturdy wooden shelves stacked with smooth raw river stones gathered from the dry beds of the Urankash River. The chaos of the outer world cannot touch you. There are no deadlines here. There is no rush. There is only the immense, timeless hardness of jade yielding millimeter by millimeter to human patience and devotion. Listen closely. Beneath the quiet sigh of the charcoal fire, a low, continuous, and incredibly soothing hum fills the room. It is the sound of a fine copper drill, tipped with wet quartz sand, slowly wearing away the surface of a milky-white nephrite jade pebble. Every few moments, the steady hum is punctuated by the soft rhythmic splash of cool water used to soothe the friction and wash away the stone dust. It is a lullaby of ancient craftsmanship, a steady hypnotic rhythm designed to quiet your mind, ease your breathing, and carry you into a state of deep, enduring tranquility. You are safe here. You are warm. As you settle into the corner of this ancient studio, watching the master's steady hands guide the stone, feel the tension draining from your shoulders. Let your thoughts slow down to match the deliberate pace of the artisan. For the next few hours, there is nowhere else you need to be and nothing else you need to do. Just breathe, listen, and let yourself drift away into the peaceful depths of this ancient desert sanctuary. As the wind continues to howl softly against the thick mud brick walls outside, it only heightens the sense of absolute safety and isolation within this small creative haven. The world outside may be vast, cold, and unpredictable, but inside these walls, time slows down to a crawl. The light from the oil lamps flickers gently, casting long, soft shadows across the wooden beams of the ceiling, creating an atmosphere that feels entirely suspended in time. You can feel the historical gravity of this place. Khotan has been the heart of the jade world for centuries, a vital stop where traders, pilgrims, and artists meet. But tonight, all of that bustling commerce is far away. Tonight, it is just the stone, the master, and the quiet rhythm of creation. Let the warmth of the brazier wash over you completely, filling you with a deep, comforting sense of relaxation. With every breath you take, feel your mind becoming clearer and lighter, perfectly attuned to the soothing, ancient sounds of the master's studio. The heavy wool curtain hangs undisturbed against the door, completely sealing out the biting draft of the Taklamakan Desert. Inside, the quietude is so profound that the steady, rhythmic breathing of the master carver becomes a comforting backdrop to the night. He sits upon a low wooden stool, his posture relaxed yet inherently grounded, a testament to decades spent in this exact position. His hands, weathered by years of labor yet remarkably steady and precise, hold a small milky-white nephrite jade pebble. This stone was not mined from the jagged peaks of the Kunlun Mountains. Instead, it was gathered from the icy rushing waters of the Urunkas River, the famous river of white jade, during the warm summer months when the snowmelt brings down treasures from the high altitudes. For months or perhaps even years, this pebble rolled along the riverbed, tumbling against boulders and gravel, being naturally polished by the forces of nature until it reached a state of smooth, flawless perfection. It is a stone that has already survived an immense journey before even entering this room. Now, under the warm golden glow of the oil lamps, it rests in the palm of the master, waiting to be transformed into an amulet of protection and peace. The surface of the stone is cool to the touch initially, but as the master cradles it, it begins to absorb the natural warmth of his skin, establishing a silent reciprocal connection between the artisan and the medium. The oil lamps, filled with refined sesame oil, burn with a steady, soft flame, casting an amber illumination that catches the translucent depths of the jade. Unlike common stones, nephrite possesses a unique, greasy luster that seems to trap the light within itself, making it appear as though the amulet is glowing from its very core. The master dips his fingers into a shallow earthenware bowl filled with water and fine gray quartz sand. This sand, meticulously sifted to ensure uniform grain size, is the secret weapon of the ancient carver. Jade is incredibly hard, far harder than ordinary steel or iron, and it cannot be carved by sharp blades or chisels. Instead, it must be worn away, ground down grain by grain through the patient application of abrasive sand. The master applies a small pinch of the wet sand to the surface of the jade pebble, then positions his copper drill against the stone. With a practiced, fluid motion of his foot, he sets the treadle of his primitive lathe into motion. The spindle spins, and as the copper tip meets the wet sand on the stone, a low, resonant hum fills the studio. It is a sound that carries the weight of centuries, a deep acoustic vibration that seems to resonate within your very chest, instantly grounding your wandering mind. The sound is completely continuous, a steady rise and fall that mimics the gentle inhalation and exhalation of a deep sleep. As the quartz crystals grind against the tough, interlocking fibers of the nephrite, they create a microscopic slurry, a paste of water, sand, and fine stone dust that slowly coats the master's fingers. He does not press hard. Excessive force would only dull the drill or crack the precious stone. Instead, he allows the weight of the tool and the sharpness of the sand to do the work, relying entirely on patience, persistence, and time. Every few minutes, he pauses the rotation, lifting the drill to inspect his progress under the lamplight. In these brief moments of stillness, the only sound is the soft musical splash of his hand dipping back into the water bowl to rinse the stone, clearing away the gray slurry to reveal the subtle indentation left behind. The contrast between the intense grinding action of the sand and the absolute serenity of the workshop creates a hypnotic atmosphere that effortlessly dissolves any lingering anxiety or stress. You watch as a small droplet of water escapes the bowl, trickling slowly down the side of the wooden workbench, catching the light like a tiny diamond before dropping silently into the earthen floor. The air remains thick with the earthy mineral scent of wet rock and the comforting smoky undertone of the charcoal fire. The small brazier, tucked safely away from the workspace, continues to radiate a deep, penetrative warmth that keeps the chill of the 88 CE desert night at bay. On a low table next to the cover, A beautifully glazed ceramic cup holds a pale green tea, its leaves gathered from the distant southern hills of China, transported across thousands of miles of the Silk Road to arrive in this very room. The tea has grown cool, but its delicate herbal aroma still drifts through the air, mingling perfectly with the scent of the moist earth. Looking around the room, you see rows of sturdy wooden shelves lining the mud brick walls. On these shelves rest dozens of other stones, each one unique in shape, size, and color. Some are large and rugged, covered in a brown, weathered skin that hides the treasure within. Others are small, smooth, and translucent, ranging from the rarest mutton fat white to deep dark spinach greens and soft cloudy yellows. Each stone represents a promise, a future work of art waiting for its moment to be awakened. But tonight, the master's focus is entirely locked onto this single white amulet. He resumes his work, his foot gently pressing the treadle once more, and the soothing hum returns to fill the silence. The regularity of the sound creates a protective barrier around the studio, shutting out the rest of the world completely. You feel yourself sinking deeper into relaxation, your eyelids growing heavier with each rotation of the drill. The knowledge that this precise action has been repeated by generations of craftsmen across thousands of years brings a profound sense of continuity and stability. In this room, there is no chaos, no uncertainty, and no urgency. There is only the beautiful, slow, and meditative dance of creation, a process that honors the true nature of the stone and the quiet dedication of the human spirit. You are free to let go of your thoughts, to surrender to the comforting warmth, and to let the ancient rhythmic song of the Jade Studio wash over you like a gentle, calming wave. Every slide of the abrasive sand against the stone feels like it is gently smoothing away the rough edges of your own day, leaving behind only peace, quietude, and a deep, restorative stillness that prepares your mind and body for a night of perfect, undisturbed rest. As the night deepens, the external world fades into a distant memory, leaving you entirely secure within this timeless oasis of tranquility. The copper tip continues its steady, hypnotic rotation against the milky white nephrite jade, singing a song of patience that has echoed through the oasis of Khotan for thousands of years. The master's hands remain completely motionless, yet alive, with a subtle, responsive energy, feeling every microscopic vibration of the quartz sand as it shapes the stone. If you look closely at his face, illuminated by the gentle amber glow of the sesame oil lamp, you can see lines of deep wisdom etched around his eyes. Lines formed not by hardship, but by decades of absolute concentration and inner peace. He does not view his work as a battle against the stone, but rather as a dialogue, a gentle persuasion where the jade slowly reveals its inner soul to the artisan who respects its immense age. This particular piece of jade spent eons locked within the icy embrace of the Kunlun Mountains before the summer torrents washed it down into the river valleys, and the master honors that vast history with every slow, deliberate movement. The sound of the drill is a comforting, low-frequency hum that fills the small mud brick studio, acting as a natural shield against the vast, freezing emptiness of the desert night outside. The wind may blow across the dunes, but here, the air is perfectly still, heavy with the comforting grounded scent of wet stone, damp earth, and the clean mineral smoke of the charcoal brazier. Every now and then, the master lifts his foot from the wooden treadle, allowing the spindle to coast to a gentle stop. The sudden silence in the room is magnificent, filled only with the soft, comforting hiss of the glowing coals. He dips a small dried gourd ladle into the bowl of cool water and pours a few drops over the amulet. The water splashes softly against the stone, washing away the gray, sandy slurry and collecting in a small groove on the wooden workbench. With a soft piece of coarse linen fabric, he wipes the surface clean, inspecting his progress. A perfectly straight, smooth groove has begun to form across the top of the amulet. the beginning of a delicate lattice pattern that will symbolize eternal protection and good fortune for whoever wears it. As he admires the translucent quality of the stone under the lamplight, a sense of deep satisfaction fills the room, an unspoken joy of creation that requires no words. If you are enjoying this journey into the ancient past and finding comfort in the rhythmic peace of the master's studio, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below to support more soothing historical tales. The master gently applies another small pinch of the wet quartz sand to the groove, positions the copper drill once more, and presses the treadle. The soothing rhythmic hum returns instantly, filling the studio with its familiar calming cadence. The sand acts as a thousands of microscopic teeth, wearing down the jade with absolute precision. This process cannot be rushed. Trying to speed it up would only overheat the stone, causing microscopic fractures that would ruin its inner purity. In a world that often demands everything to be fast, instant, and efficient, the Master Studio stands as a beautiful testament to the power of slowness and dedication. Here, time is not an enemy to be fought, but a generous companion that allows beautiful things to grow and mature. The air carries the faint sweet trace of the green tea that has now fully cooled in its ceramic cup, a gentle reminder of the human connections that cross the vast Silk Road, bringing goods and ideas from east to west. The shelves around the room seem to lean in, as if the raw river stones themselves are listening to the song of the drill, waiting for their own turn to be transformed. The light from the oil lamp flickers gently, casting soft elongated shadows on the whitewashed mud walls, creating a cozy, protective cocoon that keeps you entirely safe from the worries of the outside world. Feel your breathing naturally, synchronized with the slow rhythm of the carver's foot on the treadle, in out, steady and calm. Let the continuous hum of the wet sand grinding against the nephrite carry away any remaining tension from your muscles, leaving you feeling profoundly grounded, safe and heavy with a deep, restorative sleepiness that flows from the heart of this ancient oasis. The night deepens over the oasis of Khotan, and the sky above the Taklamakan Desert turns into a vast velvet canopy studded with millions of brilliant, unblinking stars. Inside the mud brick studio, the passage of hours is marked only by the gradual shortening of the sesame oil wicks and the steady transformation of the milky-white nephrite jade pebble. The master carver remains completely attuned to his craft, his movements possessing the fluid, effortless grace of a dancer who has performed the same steps for a lifetime. He holds the stone with a delicate yet unbreakable grip, guiding it against the spinning copper tip with a sensitivity that borders on the miraculous. His fingertips can feel the exact moment when the quartz sand has crushed down from sharp grains into a fine, smooth powder, signaling that it is time to add a fresh pinch of the abrasive mixture. He reaches out to his side, where a shallow wooden tray holds various grades of sand, each gathered from specific bands of the desert rivers, where the currents naturally sort the minerals by weight and size. He selects a medium-grade sand, its dark grains contrasting sharply against the pristine white of the jade, and drops it into the small puddle of water pooling on the stone surface. As the treadle hums back to life, the sound changes slightly, shifting from a sharp, crisp hiss to a deeper resonance that vibrates through the heavy wooden legs of the workbench and into the packed earth floor. This vibration is incredibly comforting, a low-frequency pulse that feels like the very heartbeat of the ancient earth itself. It is a sound that demands nothing from you, requiring no analysis or response. It simply exists as a steady, dependable anchor for your mind. The air in the room remains wonderfully warm, kept at a perfectly stable temperature by the small charcoal brazier. The coals have developed a thick coating of soft white ash, beneath which a deep, intense crimson glow continues to pulse, radiating a gentle, penetrative heat that reaches every corner of the small sanctuary. The scent of the burning charcoal is clean and faint, entirely devoid of harsh smoke, blending harmoniously with the mineral-rich aroma of the wet stone slurry and the lingering herbal ghost of the green tea. Every detail of this environment has been refined over generations to create the ultimate space for focused creation and deep tranquility. The master's eyes never wander from the point of contact between the copper drill and the jade. He is currently working on the reverse side of the amulet, smoothing down the edges to create a gentle pillowed curve that will feel extraordinary. In the culture of 880 CE, a jade amulet is far more than a mere piece of jewelry. It is a sacred object of protection, a physical manifestation of virtue, purity, and enduring strength. To carry such an object is to carry a piece of the eternal mountains, a talisman capable of warding off negative energies and bringing harmony to the wearer's life. The master carver understands this profound responsibility, and he pours his own inner peace into the stone with every rotation of the wheel. He knows that long after he is gone, long after this mud brick studio has returned to the desert dust, this piece of jade will remain, retaining its smooth form, its cool touch, and the spirit of patience with which it was created. This thought brings a beautiful, serene smile to his face, a reflection of an artistic soul completely at peace with his place in the universe. The oil lamp flickers slightly as a tiny pocket of air bubbles through the sesame oil, casting a momentary dance of shadows across the sturdy wooden shelves that line the walls. On these shelves, the raw river stones seem to rest in a deep, patient slumber of their own, each one a silent witness to the nightly ritual of transformation. The contrast between the cold, hostile desert outside and this warm, creative cocoon is absolute. You can hear the distant, muffled sigh of the wind as it brushes past the thick exterior walls, but the sound only serves to emphasize the profound safety and isolation of the workshop. Go out here. You are entirely protected from the storms of life, wrapped in a blanket of historical continuity and artistic devotion. Let the steady, unhurried rhythm of the master's work wash over you like a soothing balm. Feel the heaviness in your limbs grow sweeter with every passing moment. your mind drifting further away from the complexities of the modern world and sinking deeper into the ancient, restorative silence of this Khotan night. The steady, rhythmic hum of the master's copper drill remains the unbroken heartbeat of the small mud brick studio, a soothing song that bridges the gap between the earth and human imagination. As the night moves toward its quietest hours, the master prepares for one of the most delicate phases of the carving process, the creation of the central suspension hole through which a silk cord will eventually pass. This is a task that requires absolute focus and an unshakable hand, for the slightest misalignment could ruin the balance of the entire amulet. He selects a much thinner copper tube, its hollow tip specifically designed to core out a perfect cylinder of stone rather than grinding away the entire space. He cleans the surface of the jade pebble once more, using a fresh splash of cool water from the earthenware bowl. The water makes a soft musical sound as it rains down upon the stone, washing away the fine gray slurry and revealing the pristine, milky white surface underneath. The jade now possesses a beautiful, semi-translucent quality, its polished edges catching the amber glow of the sesame oil lamps and holding the light deep within its structure. The master places a fresh concentrated pinch of the sharpest quartz sand precisely on the center point of the stone, moistening it with a single drop of water from his fingertip. He carefully lowers the thin copper tube onto the wet sand, aligns his body with the lathe, and gently depresses the wooden foot treadle. The hum returns, but it is now pitched slightly higher, a clear resonant whistle that speaks to the precision of the work. The quartz sand grains find themselves trapped between the spinning edge of the copper tube and the immense hardness of the nephrite, grinding down with microscopic certainty. The master does not apply downward pressure. Instead, he allows the weight of the tool itself to guide the descent, maintaining a perfectly vertical orientation through sheer muscle memory. Every 30 or 40 rotations, he raises the tool slightly to allow fresh water and sand to flow into the deepening groove, ensuring the stone remains cool and lubricated. This repetitive up and down motion creates a hypnotic rhythm that fills the room with an almost ritualistic atmosphere. The air inside the workshop remains thick with the comforting grounded scents that have defined this space for hours. The mineral aroma of wet stone, the earthy smell of the mud brick walls, and the clean, subtle warmth of the charcoal fire. The small brazier continues to perform its silent duty, its crimson core radiating a steady enveloping heat that makes the freezing desert night outside feel like a distant illusion. The master's green tea has long since grown cold in its ceramic cup, yet its faint sweet fragrance still lingers in the air, a quiet testament to the small comforts that sustain a craftsman through a long night of devotion. Looking around the studio, the shadows cast by the oil lamps seem to move in perfect synchronization with the master's movements, creating a living tapestry of light and dark on the walls. The rows of raw river stones on the wooden shelves remain wrapped in their own ancient silence, each one patient, each one waiting for its own eventual awakening. In this space, there is no place for anxiety, doubt, or haste. The immense hardness of the jade demands an equal measure of patience from the human spirit, and in return, it grants a deep, enduring sense of peace to all who witness its transformation. You can feel this peace settling into your own bones, a heavy, comforting weight that slows your racing thoughts and calms your heartbeat. The continuous, steady sound of the drill acts as a gentle anchor, preventing your mind from wandering back to the stresses of your daily life and guiding you instead toward a state of profound relaxation. With every rise and fall of the copper tool, with every soft splash of the water, feel yourself drifting further into the soothing embrace of this ancient Khotan night, safe and warm within a sanctuary of timeless artistry. The thin copper tube continues its slow, hypnotic journey through the heart of the milky-white nephrite jade, singing a steady song of devotion that has remained unchanged for centuries in this desert oasis. The master carver works with an internal quietude that mirrors the absolute stillness of the night outside. His breath is slow, deep, and perfectly measured, rising and falling in a silent harmony with the rhythmic motion of his foot upon the wooden treadle. The slurry of wet quartz sand and fine stone dust forms a small gray ring around the drilling site, acting as a natural lubricant and abrasive that gently wears down the stubborn interlocking fibers of the nephrite. It is a beautiful irony that the hardest stone known to this world can only be shaped by something as soft and fluid as water paired with the humble grains of desert sand. This process is a lesson in the power of gentleness and persistence, a philosophy that the master has integrated into every facet of his life. He knows that to fight the jade is to break it, but to guide it with patience is to unlock a beauty that will endure for thousands of years. As the drill reaches the halfway mark through the pebble, the master stops the wheel with a gentle touch of his hand. The sudden absence of the hum allows the soft, comforting sounds of the studio to fill the void, the gentle crackle of the charcoal brazier, the faint rustle of his coarse linen sleeve against the wooden workbench, and the distant, lonely sigh of the wind blowing across the dunes of Khotan. He lifts the stone, using a small bamboo splinter to clear out the packed slurry from the core. He turns the jade over, inspecting the entry point under the warm, golden light of the sesame oil lamp. The hole is clean, perfectly circular and smooth, a testament to his unshakable focus. Now, he must begin drilling from the exact opposite side to meet the first channel in the very center of the stone. This requires a level of precision that only an eye trained by 40 years of practice can achieve. He marks the spot with a tiny drop of dark vegetable dye, applies a fresh pinch of wet sand, and brings the copper tube down once more. As the comforting low-frequency hum returns to the room, the atmosphere settles back into its deep meditative rhythm. The air remains wonderfully warm and comforting, thick with the rich scents of damp earth, wet stone, and the clean mineral smoke of the charcoal fire. This studio is a fortress of peace, an absolute sanctuary where the chaotic events of the outside world, the rise and fall of empires, the movements of vast armies, and the shifting of trade routes along the Silk Road are rendered entirely irrelevant. Within these thick mud brick walls, the only thing that matters is the relationship between the artisan, the sand, and the stone. You can feel this profound sense of safety and isolation wrapping around you like a heavy warm blanket, protecting you from every worry and tension of your modern life. Let the steady, unhurried cadence of the master's work guide your mind into a state of deep, effortless relaxation. Every rotation of the drill is a gentle reminder that some things cannot be rushed, that true beauty requires time, and that there is a profound joy to be found in the slow, deliberate unfolding of a single moment. Sleepy History with Tales is a sleep history storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. Feel your eyelids growing heavier and heavier as the soothing hum of the workshop flows over you, carrying you gently toward the sweet, restorative depths of a peaceful sleep. The copper tool spins with absolute precision against the reverse side of the white nephrite jade, its steady hum a deep acoustic blanket that wraps around the small mud brick studio. The master carver tracks the invisible line where the two boreholes will eventually meet in the absolute center of the stone. His foot maintains a slow, unwavering cadence on the wooden treadle, a rhythmic heartbeat that has guided his labor since the early hours of the evening. The paste of water and quartz sand bubbles softly at the point of contact, producing a gentle wet hiss that harmonizes perfectly with the low-frequency drone of the lathe spindle. Outside, the great Taklamakan Desert remains locked in its freezing midnight slumber, its vast expanse of shifting dunes illuminated only by the cold brilliance of the distant stars. Yet, inside this room, the climate remains perfectly temperate, held in a delicate balance by the gentle heat radiating from the small charcoal brazier. The glowing coals, nestled beneath their protective layer of soft white ash, emit a deep, penetrative warmth that keeps the artisan's fingers nimble and his mind completely relaxed. The air is alive with a complex, grounding aroma. The clean, mineral scent of pulverized jade, the rich smell of damp river silt, and the subtle, comforting undertone of the slow-burning charcoal. The master lifts his foot, allowing the spindle to coast to a silent halt. He dips his hand into the earthenware bowl, his fingers breaking the smooth surface of the water with a soft musical splash that echoes pleasantly off the whitewashed walls. He pours a small stream of water over the amulet, washing away the gray sand slurry to reveal his progress. The two channels are now mere fractions of a millimeter apart, separated by a paper-thin wall of translucent white stone. With the utmost care, he takes a small hardened iron needle and inserts it into the opening, giving it a gentle, deliberate twist. A tiny, crisp click echoes through the quiet room as the stone barrier gives way, creating a single, perfectly continuous channel through the heart of the jade amulet. The master smiles softly, an expression of quiet triumph that requires no audience. He takes a piece of coarse linen and draws it through the newly formed hole, clearing out any remaining fragments of stone and sand until the interior is completely smooth. He holds the amulet up to the sesame oil lamp, peering through the central channel. The amber light streams through the opening, illuminating the inner structure of the nephrite, revealing its complex interlocking fibrous patterns that resemble frozen clouds or plumes of mist captured within ice. This structural density is what gives Khotan jade its legendary toughness, a quality that allows it to survive for generations without scratching or fracturing. The master places the stone back onto his wooden workbench, preparing for the next phase of his work, the smoothing and polishing of the exterior faces. He selects a broader copper disc, its surface completely flat, designed to even out any irregularities left by the initial shaping process. He applies a finer grade of quartz sand mixed with a generous amount of water, creating a smooth, silken paste that will gently polish the jade rather than cutting into it. As he sets the lathe into motion once more, the sound of the workshop shifts, transforming from a sharp grinding hiss into a soft whisper-like murmur that fills the room with an almost magical tranquility. The regularity of this new sound is deeply hypnotic, a gentle lullaby that lulls the senses and invites a profound state of mental stillness. You watch the steady, unhurried movements of the master's hands, feeling the last remnants of the modern world's urgency dissolve completely from your mind. In this ancient oasis, there is no past to regret and no future to fear. There is only the beautiful, slow, and meditative reality of the present moment, dedicated entirely to the perfection of a single object of art. Let your thoughts drift away completely, riding the smooth, continuous waves of the polishing wheel as they carry you deeper and deeper into a safe, warm, and utterly peaceful sleep. The white copper disc spins smoothly against the flat face of the milky white nephrite jade, creating a soft, continuous whisper that gently blankets the entire studio. This is the stage of refinement, where the raw, rugged edges of the stone are completely transformed into a silky, tactile surface that feels pleasant to the human touch. The master carver uses a very fine grade of river sand, its microscopic grains acting as a polishing agent that removes the tiny ridges left behind by the coarser tools. His hands guide the amulet across the spinning disc with an incredibly light touch, letting the weight of the stone and the fluidity of the water do the work. Every movement he makes is slow, deliberate, and full of intention, reflecting a deep respect for the material that has spent millions of years forming deep within the earth. The light from the sesame oil lamps catches the surface of the jade, revealing a subtle, greasy luster that is the hallmark of high-quality Khotan nephrite. It does not reflect light with a harsh, glassy glare. Instead, it draws the illumination into its translucent depths, making the stone appear as though it holds a warm golden spirit within itself. The air in the mud brick studio remains perfectly comfortable, filled with the soothing warmth of the charcoal brazier, which continues to glow with a steady, quiet energy beneath its white coat of ash. The comforting aroma of wet stone earth and the clean burn of charcoal creates an atmospheric envelope that isolates this room from the vast, freezing emptiness of the Taklamakan Desert outside. The wind occasionally brushes against the thick exterior walls with a soft, distant sigh, but inside this small creative sanctuary, nothing can disrupt the profound sense of peace and security. The master carver pauses his work, lifting his foot from the wooden treadle and allowing the wheel to coast to a gentle stop. The silence that follows is thick and luxurious, filled only with the faint rhythmic hiss of the glowing coals. He dips his fingers into the bowl of cool water and carefully washes away the fine gray paste from the stone, checking the flatness of the surface against the light. Satisfied with his progress, he takes a small sip of his green tea, which has grown completely cold, but still offers a subtle, refreshing herbal note that clears his senses. If you find yourself deeply relaxed by the timeless tranquility of this ancient workshop and wish to experience more peaceful journeys into history, please subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and leave a comment to help our community grow. He places the jade back onto the spinning disc and resumes the polishing process, the low, comforting murmur of the wheel instantly returning to fill the room. The absolute regularity of this sound creates a powerful meditative focus, helping to clear away any wandering thoughts or anxieties from your mind. You feel your breathing naturally slow down, matching the steady, peaceful rhythm of the master's labor. There is a deep, comforting stability in knowing that this exact craft has been practiced in this very oasis for generations, using the same natural materials and the same unhurried approach to time. In this studio, the frantic energy of the modern world is completely rewritten, replaced by a profound respect for patience, quietude, and the natural beauty of the earth. Sleepy History with Tales combines the power of AI to reimagine fictional historical tales, bringing peace, relaxation, and positive emotional values to our listeners. As the polishing wheel continues its soothing dance, feel your eyelids growing heavier, your body sinking deeper into a state of total relaxation, and your mind drifting gently toward a deep, restorative, and completely peaceful sleep. The whispers of the spinning copper disc grow even softer as the master carver introduces an even finer abrasive to the face of the white nephrite jade amulet. He has transitioned from the fine river sand to a delicate powder made from crushed garnets gathered from the rocky scree of the lower Kunlun slopes. This reddish powder, when mixed with a few drops of clear water, creates a smooth paste that does not cut into the jade at all. Instead, it gently burnishes the surface, smoothing out the microscopic scratches until the stone begins to take on its final legendary sheen. The master's touch is now so light that he barely seems to be pressing the jade against the disc, guiding it with the tips of his fingers as if he were smoothing a delicate fabric. The sound inside the mud brick studio alters once again, settling into a low rhythmic purr that is incredibly soothing to the ear, like the sound of distant rain falling on a soft earth floor. The air remains warm and heavily grounded, carrying the familiar comforting blend of wet minerals, rich clay walls, and the clean heat of the charcoal brazier. The outside world, with its biting cold and vast stretches of silent desert dunes, feels entirely remote, separated from this small pocket of warmth by a wall of absolute tranquility. The master's focus is total, yet entirely relaxed. His mind has become as still as the stone he shapes. He knows that every movement must be deliberate, for the final polish is what reveals the true character of the jade, bringing out the subtle variations in its milky white body and allowing the light to pass through its translucent edges with a soft ethereal glow. Every few minutes, he interrupts the spinning of the wheel to perform a delicate rinse, dipping the amulet into the water bowl with a soft liquid plop that breaks the silence of the room like a tiny bell. He dries the jade with a piece of old silk, holding it close to the sesame oil lamp to inspect the reflection of the flame on its surface. The reflection is no longer distorted or fuzzy, it is beginning to appear sharp and clear, indicating that the stone is reaching a state of perfect smoothness. The master looks at his work with a quiet internal satisfaction, recognizing that the hours of patient labor are bearing fruit. The raw, cold river pebble that he began with has been entirely transformed, yielding its incredible hardness to his unyielding patience and care. The shelves surrounding him, stacked with their own silent burdens of unworked stone, seem to share in this quiet triumph, reflecting the soft amber lamplight from their weathered skins. The deep sense of stability and historical continuity in this room is palpable, a comforting assurance that some things remain constant across the centuries. You can feel this stability anchoring your own mind, allowing your thoughts to settle like the fine stone dust at the bottom of the water bowl. The continuous gentle purr of the polishing wheel acts as a hypnotic guide, drawing you deeper into a state of profound mental and physical relaxation. Your breathing becomes slower and more rhythmic, perfectly matching the gentle rise and fall of the master's foot on the treadle. There is nothing else you need to think about, nowhere else you need to go. You are perfectly safe, perfectly warm, and entirely enveloped in the peaceful ancient atmosphere of this Khotan workshop, ready to let go and sink into a deep restorative slumber. The faint, sweet aroma of wild honey and summer wildflowers spreads gently through the mud brick studio as the block of natural beeswax begins to soften near the charcoal brazier. This warm golden scent blends seamlessly with the grounding aroma of wet stone and rich clay, creating an atmosphere so deeply comforting that the cold desert night outside feels like a forgotten dream. The master carver takes the milky white nephrite jade amulet, which has been polished to a state of flawless smoothness, and begins the final delicate stage of his craft. He does not use the foot lathe for this step. Instead, he relies entirely on the steady warmth of his own hands and a piece of soft, unrefined wool fabric. He rubs a tiny amount of the softened wax onto the surface of the jade, using small circular motions that generate a gentle friction. The stone, having already absorbed the ambient heat of the studio and the artisan's skin, welcomes the wax, allowing it to penetrate the microscopic imperfections of its surface and seal its translucent body from the elements. As the master works, the only sound in the room is the soft, rhythmic whisper of the wool fabric sliding across the smooth jade, a sound that is even quieter and more hypnotic than the purr of the copper disc. It is a true whisper of peace, a sound that mimics the gentle rustle of leaves in a quiet forest or the soft breathing of a child fast asleep. The master's face remains a portrait of absolute tranquility under the amber glow of the sesame oil lamps, his eyes reflecting a deep satisfaction with the work that has occupied his hands for so many hours. The amulet now possesses a breathtaking depth. Its greasy luster is enhanced by the wax, making it look like a piece of frozen cream or solid starlight that has been shaped by human patience. Every detail of the amulet is perfect. The edges are completely rounded and soft to the touch. The central suspension channel is perfectly clean, and the overall form feels incredibly comforting when held in the hand. If you are finding comfort in the deep, enduring tranquility of this ancient Khotan studio and wish to discover more soothing historical tales to ease your mind, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Press the like button and share your peaceful thoughts in the comment section below. The master continues to buff the stone with the wool cloth, his movements steady, unhurried, and entirely meditative. He knows that this amulet will now leave his studio to begin a long journey of its own, perhaps worn by a weary merchant traveling across the vast Silk Road, or kept as a treasured family heirloom passed down through generations of families. No matter where it goes, it will carry the profound stillness of this room and the quiet dedication of the master who carved it. The shelves around the studio, filled with their silent rows of raw river stones, seem to look on in quiet approval, as if recognizing the beautiful destiny that awaits each of them in due time. The small charcoal brazier continues to pulse with its gentle crimson glow, ensuring that the room remains a warm protective sanctuary against the vast emptiness of the Taklamakan Desert night. Let the soft whispering rhythm of the wool cloth wash away the final remnants of your thoughts, leaving your mind completely clear, your body heavy with relaxation, and your spirit entirely ready to slide into a deep, beautiful, and restorative sleep. The whisper of the soft wool fabric sliding against the waxed surface of the white nephrite jade amulet continues to weave a spell of deep, unbroken serenity throughout the small studio. The master carver moves with a deliberate, unhurried ease, his fingers turning the stone slowly to ensure that every millimeter receives the final burnish. Under the amber illumination of the sesame oil lamps, the amulet has achieved its true form. It no longer looks like a cold piece of rock taken from a riverbed. Instead, it possesses a living, breathing warmth, a unique, greasy sheen that makes it appear almost soft to the eye, like a droplet of cream suspended in midair. The thin layer of beeswax has filled any microscopic spaces between the tightly interlocking fibers of the nephrite, sealing its inner purity and creating a smooth, impervious shield that will protect the stone for centuries to come. The air within the mud brick workshop remains perfectly balanced and thick with a rich, comforting palette of aromas. The sweet, subtle scent of honey and wild summer flowers from the softening wax still floats gently in the air, mingling beautifully with the deep, mineral notes of wet stone, the earthy aroma of the thick clay walls, and the clean, silent heat radiating from the charcoal brazier. Outside, the immense desert night remains black and freezing, a vast ocean of sand dunes stretching into the darkness, completely indifferent to the tiny pocket of human creation occurring within these walls. Yet, the harshness of the external world cannot penetrate this sanctuary. The thick mud brick architecture acts as an absolute barrier, keeping the cold, biting wind out and trapping the gentle, nourishing warmth of the fire inside. The master carver finishes his work, placing the wool cloth down on the wooden workbench with a soft, rustling sigh. He lifts the completed amulet between his thumb and forefinger, holding it directly up to the golden light of the lamp. The transformation is absolute. The central channel is a perfect cylinder of light, allowing the amber glow to pass cleanly through the center of the white jade. The edges are so smoothly rounded that they seem to dissolve into the shadows around them, creating an illusion of weightlessness. This amulet is now a physical manifestation of harmony, a sacred object created through the perfect union of earth, water, sand, and human patience. The master cradles the stone in the palm of his hand for a long moment, allowing his own body heat to pass into it one last time, a silent farewell to a companion that has occupied his mind and hands throughout the long night. He then places the amulet gently onto a small square of dark red felt resting on his side table, next to the ceramic cup of cold green tea. The contrast between the milky white jade and the deep crimson felt is strikingly beautiful, a visual celebration of a journey completed. Looking around his quiet studio, the master surveys the rows of unworked river stones lining the shelves. Each one remains wrapped in its own ancient silence, patient and undisturbed, waiting for the day when its own inner beauty will be called forth. There is no rush for them. Just as there is no rush for anything in this room, the artisan sits back slightly on his low wooden stool, letting his hands rest flat on his knees, his posture expressing a profound meditative contentment. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, inhaling the warm, comforting air of his sanctuary and listening to the soft, rhythmic hiss of the dying charcoal embers. The room is safe, the night is peaceful. You can feel this immense sense of completion and quietude settling into your own body, filling you with a deep, heavy relaxation that completely stills your mind. The slow, unhurried reality of this ancient Khotan workshop has smoothed away every ripple of modern anxiety, leaving you in a state of perfect, serene stillness, entirely ready to drift away into a deep, restorative sleep. The small mud brick studio remains suspended in a profound state of grace as the finished amulet rests quietly upon its dark red felt canvas. The master carver does not immediately stand or clear his workbench. Instead, he honors the tradition of the transition, that sacred pocket of time between finishing a masterpiece and returning to the ordinary world. The room is so incredibly silent that you can hear the tiny rhythmic ticks of the cooling copper tools as they slowly shed the heat generated by hours of friction. The golden flame of the sesame oil lamp dances with a soft, lazy motion, casting elongated amber shapes that ripple across the whitewashed clay walls. These shadows look like the gentle currents of the Urankash River, where this very piece of nephrite jade spent centuries being tumbled and softened by the icy mountain waters. The air inside the workshop remains beautifully warm and thick, wrapped in the comforting embrace of the charcoal brazier. The coals have burned down to a deep, uniform ruby core, hidden beneath a mountain of soft, powdery white ash that perfectly regulates the release of heat. The rich aroma of the space has evolved into a deeply comforting singular scent, a blend of clean earth, mineral dust, the sweet ghost of honeyed beeswax, and the herbal trace of the cold green tea resting untouched in its ceramic cup. This is the scent of true safety, an ancient perfume of creation that immediately signals to your mind that it is time to rest, to let go, and to heal. The master carver slowly opens his eyes and looks at the shelves lining the walls, where rows of raw river stones remain huddled together in the dim light. Each of those stones possesses its own secret history, its own unique configuration of minerals, and its own potential to become a protective talisman or a beautiful vessel. They do not compete for the artisan's attention. They do not cry out to be carved next. They simply exist in a state of perfect, enduring patience, secure in the knowledge that time along the Silk Road flows like water and that everything happens exactly when it is meant to. This deep, mineral patience seems to emanate from the very shelves themselves, filling the small studio with a heavy grounding stability that anchors your wandering thoughts. You feel your body sinking deeper into the corner of the room where you rest, your limbs growing wonderfully heavy and loose as you absorb the profound serenity of this AATCE oasis. The external world, with its frantic deadlines, noisy streets, and endless streams of digital information, feels like an impossible illusion, entirely stripped of its power to stress or worry you. In this room, the only true reality is the slow cooling of the stone, the soft glow of the amber fire, and the deep restorative peace that comes from a life dedicated to patience and craft. The master reaches out his weathered hand and gently adjusted the wick of the oil lamp, lowering the flame so that the studio dips into a deeper, velvety twilight. The amber light grows softer, painting the room in rich shades of terracotta and deep brown, creating an even cozier cocoon that cradles your senses. Let your breathing slow down even further, inhaling the warm mineral air and exhaling any final remnants of tension from your muscles. Feel the absolute security of this ancient sanctuary wrapping around you like a protective amulet of jade, guarding your mind from all disturbance and guiding you gently into a world of deep, unbroken, and beautifully restorative dreams. The deep, velvety twilight within the mud brick studio wraps around you like a protective wool cloak, softening the sharp edges of reality and inviting a profound stillness into your mind. The master carver remains seated upon his low wooden stool, his posture reflecting an ancient, unshakable peace that comes from a night of dedicated labor well spent. He looks down at his hands, which are still lightly dusted with the fine pale powder of the jade and the subtle golden residue of the beeswax. These hands do not look tired. Instead, they appear deeply grounded, a physical link between the silent majesty of the mountain peaks and the delicate world of human expression. The finished milky-white nephrite amulet on its crimson felt cloth seems to absorb the remaining dim amber light from the low oil lamp, radiating a soft pale luminescence that feels remarkably cool and soothing to look upon. The central suspension hole, meticulously caught out through hours of patient drilling, stands as a perfect empty circle, a tiny window of space captured within the immense hardness of the stone. Every element of the studio seems to have reached a state of absolute equilibrium, where the sounds, the scents, and the temperature are perfectly attuned to the deepest needs of the human spirit. The air remains wonderfully warm and thick, held in place by the massive insulation of the thick mud brick walls, which have successfully stood against the freezing, whistling drafts of the Taklamakan Desert for generations. The small charcoal brazier continues its silent, faithful watch, its heat, now a very gentle, subtle pulse that flows across the earthen floor and warms the soles of your feet. The fragrance of the room is rich and incredibly grounding, a mixture of damp river clay, pulverized minerals, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, woodsy smell of the cooling charcoal. It is a scent that carries the weight of history, a reminder that for thousands of years humans have sought refuge from the vastness of the wilderness in these small warm pockets of creativity and community. You watch as a single ember within the brazier fades from a deep orange to a soft dark gray, its journey of light coming to a peaceful, unhurried conclusion. This slow transition of energy is happening all around you. The oil lamp flickers only occasionally now, its flame burning low and steady, consuming the last few drops of refined sesame oil with absolute efficiency. The shelves of raw river stones have receded into the soft shadows of the perimeter, their smooth, rounded forms barely visible in the twilight, yet their collective presence still radiates a powerful sense of stability and endurance. They are the silent guardians of this space, reminders of the endless bounty of the earth and the beauty that lies hidden within the most ordinary looking things, waiting only for the touch of a patient master to be revealed. Let your mind rest entirely on this thought of hidden potential and quiet waiting. There is no need to rush your own growth. There is no need to force the answers to life's questions tonight. In this ancient Khotan workshop, time is a vast, gentle river that flows at its own natural pace, and you are completely free to float along its currents without effort or resistance. Feel the heaviness in your eyelids become an irresistible invitation to rest, your breathing growing deeper and more rhythmic with every passing second. You are safe, you are completely warm, and you are entirely insulated from the noise of the modern world, ready to sink into the deep, dark, and beautifully restorative embrace of a perfect night's sleep. The soft amber twilight within the mud brick studio deepens as the oil lamp's flame settles into a quiet, unwavering glow. The master carver stretches his fingers slowly, a deliberate and mindful movement that honors the muscles that have worked so precisely through the silent hours of the night. His eyes remain fixed on the milky white nephrite amulet resting upon the dark red felt, admiring how the stone seems to possess an inner life, a soft milky depth that catches the dim light and holds it close. The studio has become an island of absolute tranquility, a tiny speck of warmth and human intention anchored against the immense freezing void of the Taklamakan Desert that stretches for hundreds of miles in every direction. Outside, the cold wind continues to glide over the crests of the giant sand dunes, carving the desert landscape in much the same way the artisan shapes his jade. But the thick, straw-reinforced mud walls of the workshop ensure that not even a single draft enters this sacred space. Inside, the air is perfectly still, heavy with the comforting mineral-rich scent of wet stone, the earthy aroma of the drying clay workbench, and the faint nostalgic sweetness of the wild beeswax that has now completely bonded with the stone. The master reaches out with an unhurried motion and takes a small wooden box from a lower shelf, its surface smoothed by years of handling and dark with a rich patina of age. He places the box gently on the workbench next to the amulet, the soft click of wood against wood sounding like a tiny note of music in the profound quiet of the room. He opens the lid to reveal a lining of soft unspun sheep's wool, harvested from the flocks that graze along the base of the Kunlun Mountains, where the rivers begin their long descent into the desert. This box will be the temporary home for the amulet, protecting its freshly polished surface from any scratches until it can be delivered to the merchant who commissioned it. The master does not place the jade inside just yet. He prefers to let it sit in the open air of the studio a little longer, allowing the wax to fully cure and the stone to completely settle into its new form. Every object in the room seems to breathe in unison with this slow, rhythmic pause. The shelves of raw river stones stacked neatly along the walls have dissolved almost entirely into the deep shadows, appearing as solid, comforting silhouettes that reinforce the feeling of being enclosed in a mountain cave. The small charcoal brazier has reached the final stage of its nightly cycle, the brilliant red core now completely hidden beneath a thick, velvety layer of silver ash. Yet it still gives off a deep, penetrative warmth that keeps the earthen floor perfectly comfortable underfoot. You can feel this warmth rising through the room, wrapping around your body like a heavy, comforting blanket that invites every muscle to completely relax and let go of its tension. Your breathing naturally slows down to match the slow, measured pace of the artisan's movements, each inhalation bringing in the grounding sense of earth and history, and each exhalation releasing any lingering thoughts of the modern world. There are no worries here, no frantic demands on your time, and no expectations to meet. In this ancient oasis city of Khotan, in the year 880 Common Era, life is measured by the slow accumulation of patience and the beautiful enduring legacy of human craftsmanship. Let the deep protective silence of this workshop settle over your mind like a soft mist, quietening your thoughts and clearing away any remaining shadows of anxiety. As you watch the master carver rest his hands on his knees, his face a portrait of complete inner peace, feel your own spirit alignment with the timeless tranquility of the stone. Let your eyes grow heavier and heavier, surrendering completely to the warm, secure, and profoundly peaceful atmosphere of this ancient desert sanctuary as it carries you gently down into a deep restorative sleep. The velvet darkness continues to expand from the corners of the mud brick studio, gently swallowing the heavy wooden shelves and the silent shapes of the unworked river stones. The master carver remains perfectly still on his stool, leaning his back slightly against the rough clay wall behind him, allowing himself a moment of pure restful contemplation. The milky-white nephrite jade amulet rests like a fallen star upon its small square of dark red felt, its freshly waxed surface catching the absolute minimum of light and turning it into a soft pale aura that hovers just above the workbench. The room is so quiet that the rhythmic sound of your own breathing begins to blend with the natural silence of the space, creating an internal harmony that calms the mind and centers the spirit. The air inside is remarkably stable, preserved by the thick ancient walls that have insulated this workshop against the elements for decades. It is an air that feels dense with comfort, smelling of the clean mineral dust of the Urunkas River, the rich clay of the oasis soil, and the very faint, lingering trace of sweet herbal tea that has long since gone cold in its beautifully glazed ceramic cup. Outside, the great Taklamakan Desert is white, vast and silent, its frozen winds sweeping across empty trade routes where daytime caravans once bustled with activity. But tonight, all of that movement is suspended, and the entire world seems to have shrunk down to this single warm mud brick room where a master artisan has poured his patience into a piece of eternal stone. The master's hands, resting loosely upon his knees, are a testament to the power of slow, repetitive labor. They are hands that know how to yield to the nature of the jade rather than fighting it, understanding that true creation is always a partnership between the human spirit and the materials of the earth. He watches the tiny flame of the sesame oil lamp as it shrinks down to a tiny, intense point of golden light, its fuel running low after hours of steady burning. This reduction of light does not bring a feeling of gloom. Instead, it deepens the sense of security and intimacy within the workshop, making it feel like a secret cave where only peace and beauty are allowed to exist. The small charcoal brazier, now entirely covered in its fine coat of white ash, still emits a gentle, steady heat that radiates outward across the packed earth floor, keeping the room perfectly cozy and warm. There is an incredible comfort in this slow fading of fire and light, a natural reminder that every cycle of activity must eventually give way to a cycle of deep, restorative rest. You can feel this heavy, sweet restfulness creeping into your own limbs, making your body feel deeply anchored and relaxed against the floor. The complexities of your modern life, with its endless digital inputs and frantic schedules, feel so distant that they no longer have any substance or reality. Go out here. In this ancient studio in the year 880 CE, time does not rush forward. It pools quietly like water in a mountain stream, allowing you to simply exist in the present moment without any pressure or expectation. Let your thoughts slow down to match the absolute stillness of the room, each passing second smoothing away the remaining rough edges of your mind. Watch the tiny golden point of the lamp flame as it flickers once, twice, and then settles back into its steady, quiet dance, guiding you further away from the waking world and deeper into a sanctuary of peaceful dreams. The tiny golden point of the lamp flame continues its slow, hypnotic dance, casting a warm and gentle illumination across the weathered wood of the carver's bench. The master carver remains completely still, his eyes half closed as he breathes in the heavy, grounded atmosphere of his sanctuary. The milky-white nephrite jade amulet seems to have found its final resting place for the night. Nestled on the square of dark red felt like a precious secret waiting to be discovered by the morning light. The silence of the mud brick studio is absolute, a thick and comforting blanket that absorbs every minor sound and transforms it into a profound state of peace. The air is perfectly temperate, held in place by the massive clay walls that have absorbed the heat of the charcoal brazier throughout the long hours of craftsmanship. The rich aroma of wet stone, damp earth, and the sweet ghost of wild honeyed beeswax remains unchanged, a reliable olfactory anchor that signals to your body that you are completely safe, completely warm, and entirely free to rest. Outside, the great Taklamakan Desert continues its cold, silent vigil under the immense starry sky. But within these four walls, the frantic energy of the outer world has no power. The master carver's mind is as smooth and undisturbed as the surface of the jade he has spent the night perfecting. He feels no urgency to clean the workspace, no anxiety about tomorrow's tasks, and no desire to be anywhere else but right here in this perfect moment of completion. He watches a tiny flake of white ash drift lazily from the charcoal brazier, landing silently on the earthen floor, a microscopic event that highlights the beautiful, unhurried pace of the room. Every object around him, the wooden shelves, The raw river stones, the copper drills, and the earthenware bowls shares in this deep mineral patience, as if the entire workshop is breathing in a slow collective rhythm that matches the turning of the earth. You can feel this collective rhythm moving through your own body, soothing your nervous system and relaxing every tight muscle in your shoulders and back. The modern world, with its relentless demands and constant noise, has faded into a distant, completely irrelevant memory, replaced by the simple, beautiful reality of a medieval artisan's workshop. There is a deep, restorative medicine in this slowness, a reminder that your soul thrives when it is allowed to step away from the rush and simply exist in a space of quiet safety. The master slowly drops his chin toward his chest, his breathing deepening as he allows himself to slide into the early stages of a restful slumber right there on his low stool. The oil lamp flickers one last time, its flame shrinking even lower, casting the room into a deep velvety shadow play that signals the final transition from the world of labor to the world of dreams. Let yourself surrender to this transition, feeling your mind grow lighter and lighter as your body grows heavier and warmer, perfectly cradled by the ancient enduring peace of this Khotan oasis night, entirely ready to drift away into a deep and beautiful sleep. The deep velvet shadows now reach across the entire width of the wooden workbench, wrapping the small mud brick studio in a cocoon of absolute serenity. The master carver remains in his state of quiet repose, his chest rising and falling in a slow rhythmic cadence that fills the small room with a sense of living peace. The milky-white nephrite jade amulet, completely finished and sealed with a fragrant summer beeswax, rests silently upon its crimson felt cloth, glowing with a soft milky luminance that seems to emanate from deep within the mineral itself. The copper drill, the shallow trace of river sand, and the earthenware water bowls have all grown completely cold. Their active roles in the nightly ritual of creation concluded, leaving behind only the beautiful smooth results of their labor. The air inside the workshop remains perfectly warm and comfortable, held at a steady temperature by the thick clay and straw walls that have protected generations of artisans from the brutal extremes of the Taklamakan Desert. The aroma of the space is deeply grounding and nostalgic, a rich blend of pulverized stone, wet clay, the clean heat of the dying charcoal embers, and the sweet lingering ghost of wild honey. This is a sanctuary where time has no meaning, where the frantic rush of the modern world is completely dissolved, replaced by a profound respect for patience, dedication, and the slow, beautiful unfolding of the present moment. If you are finding comfort and deep relaxation in this journey to the ancient Silk Road, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below to support more soothing historical tales. The master carver slowly shifts his position on the low wooden stool, his movements soft and fluid, completely devoid of haste or urgency. He reaches out his hand, his fingers lightly brushing the smooth surface of the finished amulet one last time, a silent gesture of gratitude to the stone for revealing its inner beauty to him. He then gently picks up the piece of red felt, sliding the jade into the soft wool-lined wooden box he had prepared earlier. The lid closes with a faint, satisfying click that echoes softly through the quiet room, sealing the amulet away until the morning light brings the merchant to his door. With the work completely safely put away, the master turns his attention to the sesame oil lamp, which is now burning with a tiny intense bead of blue and gold light at the very bottom of its ceramic reservoir. He leans forward slightly and blows a gentle breath across the wick, extinguishing the flame with a soft, clean puff that plunges the studio into a deep, comforting darkness. The only remaining light comes from the charcoal brazier, where a few tiny cracks in the silver ash reveal the deep pulsing crimson glow of the remaining embers beneath. This faint warm light paints the room in soft shades of shadow and rust, creating an environment that is perfectly suited for the deep, restorative sleep that your body and mind are craving. You can feel the absolute safety of this ancient space wrapping around you completely, shielding you from every worry, stress, and distraction of your modern life. Your breathing naturally deepens, matching the slow, steady rhythm of the master carver's breath as he prepares to leave his workshop for the night. Let go of your remaining thoughts. Allow your body to become completely heavy and relaxed against your bed, and let yourself drift away into the sweet, dark, and beautifully peaceful depths of a perfect night's rest. The deep, velvety darkness of the mud brick studio is absolute now, illuminated only by the faint rhythmic pulse of the dying charcoal brazier. Underneath its thick, protective blanket of silver-white ash, the crimson core of the fire glows like a tiny grounded star, casting long, lazy shadows across the packed earth floor and the rough wooden legs of the artisan's workbench. The master carver remains motionless on his low stool, his silhouette blending seamlessly with the dark contours of the room. He has surrendered completely to the peace of the completed task, his body relaxed and heavy with the satisfying fatigue that follows hours of intense mindful concentration. The small wooden box containing the finished, milky-white, nephrite jade amulet sits securely on the table, a tiny vault of tranquility holding a piece of eternity that has been shaped by human patience. The air inside the workshop is perfectly comfortable, completely insulated from the freezing howling winds of the Taklamakan Desert that continue to sweep across the outer dunes of Khotan. Within these thick straw-reinforced clay walls, there is no cold, no rush, and no uncertainty. There is only a profound timeless stillness that has settled over every object like a soft layer of dust. The rich, grounding aroma of the studio remains thick and comforting, a unique mixture of wet river-silt, pulverized mineral dust, the faint sweetness of wild summer honey from the beeswax, and the clean, smokeless warmth of the cooling charcoal. This scent is a powerful anchor for the senses, a direct signal to your nervous system that the work of the day is done, that you are entirely safe, and that it is safe to let go of your thoughts. The wooden shelves lining the walls, stacked with their burdens of raw, unworked river stones, have disappeared entirely into the shadows. Yet their collective presence still radiates a deep mineral stability that reinforces the feeling of being protected inside a solid mountain cave. There are no deadlines to meet here, no notifications to answer, and no frantic schedules to keep. In the year 880 CE, time flows as slowly and deliberately as the deep desert rivers, allowing you to simply exist in the present moment without any pressure or expectation. Feel your breathing naturally synchronized with the slow, deep, and measured breathing of the master carver, each breath drawing in the warm, comforting air of the sanctuary, and each breath releasing any remaining tightness in your muscles. Your mind becomes as quiet and clear as the central suspension hole cored through the heart of the Jade Amulet, a peaceful space where thoughts can pass through without leaving a trace. Let the heavy, sweet sleepiness of the ancient oasis night wash over you completely, melting away the final remnants of your modern worries. You are completely warm, you are completely secure, and you are surrounded by an ancient legacy of patience and quiet devotion that prepares your body and mind for a night of perfect, undisturbed, and beautifully restorative rest. The profound, ink-like darkness of the mud brick studio deepens into the ultimate quiet of the late night hours, wrapping the entire workshop in an unbreakable shroud of pure peace. The master carver does not stir from his seat, having entered a state of quiet meditation that perfectly bridges the gap between waking life and the deep restoration of sleep. Beside him on the worn wooden workbench, the small wooden box stands as a silent monument to the night's achievements, its tight-fitting lid holding the fully cured beeswax-sealed nephrite jade amulet in perfect safety. The air remains remarkably warm, thick, and soothingly heavy, preserved by the heavy thermal mass of the ancient clay walls, which have held back the freezing desert wind for generations without a single shudder. Every breath taken within this room feels deeply grounding, filling the lungs with the rich, complex aroma that has defined this creative sanctuary for 40 years. The clean, cool scent of pulverized white jade, the earthy dampness of river silt, the sweet, comforting trace of wild summer honey, and the faint, smoky signature of the dying charcoal brazier. Outside the great Taklamakan Desert is an endless sea of shifting sand, frozen beneath the brilliant icy gaze of a billion distant stars. But inside this small fortress of clay, the harshness of nature has been entirely tamed and transformed into a cradle of comfort. The tiny cracks in the white ash of the brazier pulse with their very last crimson light, a slow fading heartbeat that signals the absolute end of the creative cycle and the welcoming arrival of deep total rest. The rows of uncarved river stones resting on the peripheral shelves are completely invisible now, swallowed up by the velvety shadows, yet their ancient mineral presence continues to radiate a profound stability that anchors the room and everyone within it. There is absolutely nothing left to do, no decisions left to make, no tools left to clean, and no thoughts left to think. The modern world, with its relentless digital noise and exhausting pace, has vanished completely from the horizon of your mind, replaced by the heavy, sweet, and comforting reality of an 880 CE oasis workshop. Sleepy history with tales brings these ancient worlds to life, allowing the timeless values of patience, dedication, and natural beauty to wash over you, clearing away the stresses of the modern day and preparing your spirit for complete rejuvenation. Feel your body sinking deeper and deeper into the quiet dark, your limbs becoming delightfully heavy and warm as the final remnants of your thoughts dissolve into the silent atmosphere of the room. Your breathing is now perfectly slow, rhythmic and deep, moving in harmony with the gentle unseen currents of the ancient night. Let go completely, surrender your mind to the total security of this desert sanctuary, and allow yourself to drift effortlessly away into a deep, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The absolute stillness of the late night hours deepens further, drawing a thick curtain of complete serenity over every corner of the mud brick studio. The master carver remains motionless, his form silhouetted in the deep heavy shadows that have taken full possession of the workshop. The tiny crimson glow that once peeked through the white ash of the charcoal brazier has finally faded into a silent, dark gray warmth, leaving the room at a perfectly stable, comfortable temperature that wraps around you like a heavy, protective wool blanket. The thick clay walls, built with the wisdom of generations of oasis dwellers, hold the thermal energy of the day and the night securely inside, refusing to let even a hint of the freezing Taklamakan Desert air penetrate this small fortress of creative peace. The air is wonderfully calm and rich, holding the deeply grounded and comforting aroma of damp river earth, fine mineral dust, the sweet memory of the summer beeswax, and the clean natural smell of cool wood charcoal. The small wooden box resting upon the workbench is completely swallowed by the darkness, yet its presence is felt as an anchor of complete achievement, keeping the finished white nephrite jade amulet perfectly safe from the passing of time. Every single tool, the copper discs, the iron needles, the wooden treadle, is now completely asleep, resting in the quiet dark after a night of perfect and harmonious labor. The vast empty desert outside continues its cold, silent dance beneath the distant stars. But within these four walls, the world has shrunk down to a single warm point of absolute security and peace. There are no frantic expectations here, no digital interruptions, and no racing thoughts. The entire universe has slowed down to match the deep, timeless patience of the ancient stones that line the hidden shelves. You can feel your own body sinking deeper into this luxury of quietude, your limbs growing wonderfully loose, heavy and warm, as you absorb the stable energy of the room. Your breathing has settled into a slow, effortless, and rhythmic cycle, matching the profound silence that has claimed the workspace. Let your mind fully let go of its remaining anchor points to the waking world, allowing your thoughts to dissolve entirely into the dark, velvety atmosphere of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, perfectly ready to glide downward into a deep, beautiful, and utterly restorative sleep. The complete and total darkness within the mud brick studio holds the space in a state of suspended animation, where time itself seems to have paused its relentless forward march. The master carver has now surrendered entirely to the deep embrace of sleep, his slow rhythmic breathing forming a gentle, nearly imperceptible baseline of life within the profound silence of the room. Every object in the workshop has settled into its final nighttime equilibrium. The small wooden box holding the white nephrite jade amulet sits silently on the workbench, its content completely sealed away, a finished masterpiece resting in perfect security. The thick straw and clay walls continue to perform their ancient duty, retaining the deep, rich warmth accumulated over the hours of creative labor and completely repelling the freezing, biting drafts of the outer Taklamakan night. The atmosphere inside remains thick, comforting, and intensely grounded, smelling of the clean, cool essence of river stone, dried clay, and the faint ghostly sweetness of the honeyed beeswax that now permanently protects the jade. Outside, the vast desert dunes remain cold and still under an ocean of stars. But inside this small creative sanctuary, you are wrapped in an absolute cocoon of warmth and safety. There is no noise from the modern world to disturb you, no digital screens to catch your attention, and no urgent demands waiting to be answered. Here in the year 88 CE, the only reality is the deep mineral patience of the earth and the peaceful satisfaction of a job beautifully done. You can feel this deep stability grounding your own mind, allowing any remaining thoughts or anxieties to simply melt away into the velvety shadows of the room. Your limbs feel heavy, relaxed, and completely warm, perfectly aligned with the restorative stillness that fills every cubic inch of the workspace. Your breathing naturally slows down to a deep, effortless rhythm, drawing in the comforting, familiar scent of earth and history. Let go of the final ties to the waking world, allowing yourself to sink deeper and deeper into the protective darkness of this ancient Khotan oasis, entirely ready to transition into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The ultimate stillness of the deep night holds the mud brick studio in an unshakable embrace of pure restorative silence. The master carver is completely asleep now, his breathing so soft and steady that it seems to merge perfectly with the natural quiet respiration of the ancient clay walls themselves. On the workbench, the small wooden box remains a quiet vault of complete satisfaction, keeping the finished white nephrite jade amulet sheltered in absolute darkness and safety, its crystalline matrix resting after the intense transformation it underwent during the night. The thick, straw-reinforced mud brick walls continue to stand as an impregnable barrier against the freezing whistling winds of the Taklamakan Desert, trapping the gentle, deep warmth of the cool charcoal brazier inside the room and maintaining a perfectly comfortable uniform temperature. The air inside is delightfully heavy and grounded, rich with the clean, comforting aroma of pulverized river minerals, damp earth, the sweet ghost of wild honeyed beeswax, and a completely clean signature of cold wood ash. The rows of raw, uncarved stones stacked along the walls are completely hidden by the velvety blackness, yet their collective, ancient presence continues to radiate a powerful sense of permanence and unhurried patience that anchors the entire room. In this ancient oasis of Khotan, in the year 880 CE, the frantic speed and digital noise of the modern world do not exist. There are no messages to answer, no deadlines to meet, and no expectations to fulfill. Time is a vast, calm pool, allowing you to simply rest and exist in a state of absolute security and peace. You can feel your body sinking deeper and deeper into this profound quietude, your limbs growing wonderfully loose, warm, and heavy as you absorb the calm, stable energy of the workshop. Your mind has become completely clear and still, matching the beautiful emptiness of the dark room where all labor has beautifully ended and all creation is safely at rest. Let your remaining thoughts dissolve entirely into the soft, protective shadows, allowing yourself to glide effortlessly down into a deep, unbroken, and beautifully rejuvenating sleep. The soft ancient darkness of the mud brick workshop expands into the final hours before the dawn, wrapping every corner of the studio in a blanket of total, undisturbed tranquility. The master carver is deeply lost in his dreams, his chest rising and falling with a slow, effortless regularity that whispers of absolute contentment and deep, natural rest. On the heavy wooden bench, the small wool-lined box holds the white nephrite jade amulet in perfect sacred isolation. The stone completely stabilized, its surface cool and flawless beneath its protective layer of hardened summer beeswax. The thick clay walls, built with the collective memory of generations who understood the harsh rhythms of the desert, remain a flawless shield against the freezing night, holding the gentle ambient warmth safely within the room. The air is remarkably still and heavy, carrying the deeply comforting signature scent of the space, the rich mineral aroma of river stone, the grounding scent of dried clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, silent trace of the completely cool charcoal brazier. Outside, the vast dunes of the Taklamakan Desert lie motionless beneath the pale silent light of a trillion distant stars, an endless sea of sand that highlights the incredible safety and seclusion of this tiny human sanctuary. The unworked river stones on the peripheral shelves sleep in the dark, their long journey from the high glaciers of the Kunlun Mountains finding a peaceful pause in this quiet room, waiting without any urgency for the mornings yet to come. In this ancient space, the chaotic speed, relentless noise, and digital demands of the modern world are completely erased, replaced by the deep, enduring truth of the earth and the slow, beautiful reality of human devotion. You can feel this profound stability working its way into your own body, melting away the very last traces of tension in your neck, your shoulders, and your mind. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and loose, sinking deeply into a state of total relaxation that invites you to completely let go. Your breathing has become beautifully slow and rhythmic, flowing in perfect harmony with the silent dark currents of the oasis night. Let your thoughts fade into the soft velvety shadows of the room, allowing your spirit to surrender to the deep protective peace of this ancient Khotan workshop as you drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The deep, velvety darkness of the mud brick studio holds its breath as the night reaches its absolute quietest peak, just before the very first invisible shifts of the distant dawn. The master carver is completely motionless, lost in a profound, dreamless slumber that restores his body and clears his mind after the long, intense hours of artistic creation. His slow, rhythmic breathing is the only living sound in the entire workshop, a gentle, soothing rise and fall that acts as a natural lullaby for the silent space. On the heavy oak workbench, the small wooden box remains perfectly still, a tiny secure fortress protecting the completed white nephrite jade amulet from the external world. Inside that box, the jade rests in its bed of soft sheep's wool, its surface completely stabilized and smooth, holding the hidden warmth of the master's hands and the sweet protective sealing of the wild summer beeswax deep within its mineral body. The thick mud brick walls, mixed with desert straw and river silt, continue to perform their ancient duty with absolute perfection, holding the gentle, lingering warmth of the evening's fire inside, while completely blocking out the freezing, biting winds of the great Taklamakan Desert. The air within the room is thick, stationary, and incredibly comforting, saturated with the grounding familiar aromas that have defined this sanctuary for decades. The deep mineral scent of pulverized river stone, the earthy trace of dry clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, completely silent essence of cold wood charcoal ash. Outside, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a canopy of cold, brilliant stars, an endless ocean of sand dunes that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and protected this tiny pocket of human craftsmanship truly is. The rows of unworked river stones on the peripheral shelves remain hidden in the dark, resting in a state of absolute eternal patience, entirely content to wait for days, months, or years until their turn comes to be shaped by the master's hands. In this sacred space, the frantic deadlines, the digital noise, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world do not exist. They are completely erased, replaced by the slow, enduring, and beautiful reality of an ancient oasis town in the year 880 Common Era. You can feel this profound mineral stability washing over your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn knots of tension in your muscles. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and relaxed, sinking deeply into the soft fabric of your bed as you absorb the absolute security of the room. Your breathing slows down to a deep, effortless, and perfectly rhythmic cadence, moving in complete harmony with the silent currents of the night. Let your remaining thoughts dissolve entirely into the soft, protective shadows around you, allowing your mind to become as still and clear as the stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The absolute velvet stillness of the deep desert night holds the small mud brick studio in a state of perfect, unbroken suspension as the hours crawl toward the eventual dawn. The master carver is completely motionless upon his low sleeping mat in the corner, his breathing an incredibly soft, rhythmic sigh that seems to rise and fall in perfect synchronization with the very walls of the workshop. On the heavy wooden bench, the small wool-lined box remains a silent sentinel of a long night's devotion, its tight wooden grain sealing away the completed white nephrite jade amulet in an environment of total unblemished darkness. Inside that modest container, the jade has fully cooled, its fine molecular structure settled after the intense friction of the iron drills, its surface permanently smooth and fragrant under the thin, hardened glaze of organic summer beeswax. The thick clay and straw walls of the room, baked solid by decades of fierce oasis sun, easily repel the icy, biting winds that continue to sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert, ensuring that the atmosphere inside remains beautifully warm, thick, and completely comfortable. The air within this enclosed sanctuary carries a rich, grounding weight, deeply saturated with the comforting, unchanging aromas of the artisan's life. The cold, clean scent of pulverized river stone, the earthy aroma of dried clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, smokeless essence of the fully spent charcoal embers. Outside, the immense desert landscape stretches out into the blackness under a brilliant frozen canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that only serves to emphasize the profound safety, security, and warmth of this tiny human refuge. The long rows of unworked river pebbles and raw jade boulders stacked upon the dark wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years in the mountain riverbeds before arriving here. In this ancient workspace in the year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic pace, constant digital demands, and noisy distractions of the modern world are completely non-existent. They have vanished entirely from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest human craftsmanship. You can feel this immense sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own body, completely relaxing your nervous system and dissolving the very last remnants of physical and mental tension from your day. Your limbs feel incredibly heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed, as the silent energy of the workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in harmony with the gentle, unseen current of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet and clear as the polished stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The eternal velvet blackness of the midnight hour deepens its absolute hold on the small mud brick studio, anchoring the entire space in a realm of perfect, unyielding tranquility that stands completely separate from the passage of time. The master carver is resting profoundly now, his body fully surrendered to a deep, dreamless sleep on his simple woven mat in the corner of the room. His long, slow inhalations and soft, gentle exhalations, creating a beautiful, steady pulse of life within the quiet darkness. Upon the heavy wooden workbench, the small wool-lined storage box remains completely undisturbed, acting as a small and silent fortress that holds the finished white nephrite jade amulet in a state of pristine, unblemished security. Within this protective wooden enclosure, the precious stone rests in total darkness, its smooth, cool surfaces holding the memory of the master's dedicated hands and the subtle protective coating of organic summer beeswax that has now completely bonded with its fine mineral matrix. The thick clay and straw walls of the ancient workshop, built by master builders who understood the extreme changes of the desert climate, continue to function flawlessly as a heavy thermal shield, holding the deep go out, gentle warmth of the evening inside the room, while completely shutting out the freezing biting drafts that glide across the high dunes of the Taklamakan Desert outside. The air within this safe environment remains incredibly thick, warm, and comforting, saturated with the rich, familiar aromas that have characterized this creative sanctuary for decades. The deep, clean scent of pulverized riverstone, the grounding presence of dry earthen clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, silent essence of cold wood charcoal ash. Outside the heavy timber door, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a cold, brilliant canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that emphasizes just how secure, warm, and perfectly protected this tiny pocket of human artistry truly is. The long rows of uncarved river stones and raw jade boulders stacked neatly upon the perimeter shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying an ancient mineral patience that has existed for thousands of years within the dark mountain riverbeds before being gathered by human hands. In this sacred space, in the peaceful year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic deadlines, the constant digital interruptions, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world simply do not exist. They are completely erased from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest, mindful craftsmanship. You can feel this profound sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn remnants of physical and mental tension from your body. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent grounding energy of the ancient workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in total harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear and peaceful as the polished jade itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The profound, dark silence of the desert night continues to hold the tiny mud brick studio in its deep, protective embrace as the hours slowly drift closer to the first light of dawn. And the master carver is resting completely now, his long, slow breathing filling the small room with a steady, peaceful sound that matches the quiet rhythm of the ancient oasis. On the heavy wooden bench, the small wool-lined container stays perfectly shut, guarding the finished white nephrite jade amulet from the external world, and keeping it warm and safe in the dark. The thick clay walls mixed with straw and river sand work perfectly to keep the cold desert winds outside while holding the soft warmth of the charcoal inside the room. The air is heavy and comfortable, smelling of wet riverstone, dry clay, a little bit of sweet honey from the beeswax, and the clean scent of old charcoal ash. Outside the heavy door, the great Taklamakan Desert lies still under a sky filled with bright silent stars, an endless sea of sand that makes this little workshop feel like the safest place in the world. The uncarved stones on the shelves are completely hidden by the shadows, waiting quietly for their own time to be shaped by the master's hands. In this ancient space from the year 880, there are no modern worries, no loud noises, and no rush. There is only the peaceful feeling of a hard day's work completed. You can feel this deep, quiet energy moving into your own body, relaxing every muscle in your back and shoulders, and clearing away all the busy thoughts from your mind. Your legs and arms feel heavy and warm, sinking comfortably into your bed as you listen to the deep silence of the night. Your breathing naturally slows down, becoming soft and regular, just like the breathing of the sleeping artisan in the corner. Let go of everything else. Let your mind become quiet and still like the polished stone, and allow yourself to sink deeply into a long, warm, and beautifully restful sleep. The velvety darkness within the ancient mud brick studio remains unbroken, holding its breath in the deep silent hours that guard the transition between the midnight stars and the eventual arrival of the dawn. The master carver continues his profound restorative slumber upon his simple woven mat in the quietest corner of the workshop. He's breathing a steady rhythmic cadence that flows like the gentle unseen currents of a deep mountain stream. Beside his workbench, the small wooden box rests securely in the absolute shadows, its thick grain and soft wool lining acting as a perfect sanctuary for the completed white nephrite jade amulet. Within that small container, the jade has achieved a state of complete, unyielding rest, its fine crystalline structures entirely settled after the intense heat and friction of the iron drills, and its pristine surface protected by the thin, aromatic seal of wild summer beeswax. The massive clay walls of the studio, built strong by the hands of ancestors who understood the unforgiving nature of the surrounding landscape, stand as an impregnable fortress against the freezing, whistling winds that sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert. Inside this small space, the air remains perfectly stable, beautifully warm, and deeply comforting, holding the ancient, rich smells that have defined this creative sanctuary for a lifetime. The clean, cool scent of pulverized river stone, the grounding aroma of dried earth, the faint, lingering sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, smokeless essence of the cooling charcoal brazier. Outside, the great desert stretches for countless miles under a vast, brilliant sky filled with a trillion silent stars, an endless ocean of cold sand that serves only to emphasize the incredible safety, warmth, and peace of this tiny human refuge. The long rows of unworked river stones and rolled jade boulders stacked neatly upon the dark wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years within the dark mountain river beds. before being gathered by human hands. In this sacred space, in the peaceful year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic deadlines, the constant digital interruptions, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world simply do not exist. They are completely erased from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest, mindful craftsmanship. You can feel this profound sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn remnants of physical and mental tension from your body. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent grounded energy of the ancient workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in total harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear, and peaceful as the polished jade itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The deep, velvety darkness of the mud brick studio holds its absolute silence as the night reaches its absolute quietest peak, just before the very first invisible shifts of the distant dawn. The master carver is completely motionless, lost in the profound, dreamless slumber that restores his body and clears his mind after the long, intense hours of artistic creation. His slow, rhythmic breathing is the only living sound in the entire workshop, a gentle, soothing rise and fall that acts as a natural lullaby for the silent space. On the heavy oak workbench, the small wooden box remains perfectly still, a tiny secure fortress protecting the completed white nephrite jade amulet from the external world. Inside that box, the jade rests in its bed of soft sheep's wool, its surface completely stabilized and smooth, holding the hidden warmth of the master's hands and the sweet, protective sealing of the wild summer beeswax deep within its mineral body. The thick mud brick walls, mixed with desert straw and river silt, continue to perform their ancient duty with absolute perfection, holding the gentle lingering warmth of the evening's fire inside while completely blocking out the freezing biting winds of the great Taklamakan Desert. The air within the room is thick, stationary, and incredibly comforting, saturated with the grounding familiar aromas that have defined this sanctuary for decades. The deep mineral scent of pulverized river stone, the earthy trace of dry clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the completely silent essence of cold wood, charcoal ash. Outside, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a canopy of cold, brilliant stars, an endless ocean of sand dunes that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and protected this tiny pocket of human craftsmanship truly is. The rows of unworked river stones on the peripheral shelves remain hidden in the dark, resting in a state of absolute eternal patience, entirely content to wait for days, months, or years until their turn comes to be shaped by the master's hands. In this sacred space, the frantic deadlines, the digital noise, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world do not exist. They are completely erased, replaced by the slow, enduring, and beautiful reality of an ancient oasis town in the year 880 Common Era. You can feel this profound mineral stability washing over your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn knots of tension in your muscles. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm and relaxed, sinking deeply into the soft fabric of your bed as you absorb the absolute security of the room. Your breathing slows down to a deep, effortless, and perfectly rhythmic cadence, moving in complete harmony with the silent currents of the night. Let your remaining thoughts dissolve entirely into the soft, protective shadows around you, allowing your mind to become as still and clear as the stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The profound ink-like darkness within the ancient mud brick workshop deepens even further, wrapping every corner of the room in an impenetrable blanket of total, unblemished tranquility as the late night hours stretch outward toward the far horizon. The master carver remains locked in his deep, restorative slumber upon his simple straw sleeping mat in the furthest corner of the studio, his physical form entirely relaxed and heavy with the satisfying deep fatigue that comes from hours of intense mindful concentration. His long, slow breathing is the only sound that exists in the entire room, a soft and rhythmic rising and falling that seems to harmonize perfectly with the silent ancient spirit of the oasis itself. On the heavy oak workbench, the small wooden storage box sits completely undisturbed in the deep shadows, serving as a silent sentinel that protects the finished white nephrite jade amulet from the changes of the outside world. Within that small container, the jade rests in absolute safety upon its soft bed of raw sheep's wool, its crystalline structures completely settled and stable after the intense heat and friction of the iron drills, its pristine surface smooth and fragrant under the thin hardened glaze of organic summer beeswax. The thick mud brick walls built with the collective wisdom of generations who understood the harsh, unforgiving nature of the desert climate continue to function flawlessly as a heavy thermal barrier, holding the gentle warmth of the evening's fire inside, while completely shutting out the freezing, whistling winds that sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert. The air within this enclosed sanctuary remains incredibly still, warm, and deeply comforting, saturated with the rich familiar aromas that have defined this creative space for decades. The clean, cool scent of pulverized river stone, the grounding presence of dried earth, the faint, lingering sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, completely smokeless essence of the cooling charcoal brazier. Outside the heavy timber door, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a cold, brilliant canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and perfectly protected this tiny pocket of human artistry truly is. The long rows of unworked river stones and raw jade boulders stacked neatly upon the peripheral wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years within the dark mountain riverbeds before being gathered by the master's hands. In this sacred space, in the peaceful year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic deadlines, the constant digital interruptions, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world simply do not exist. They are completely erased from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest, mindful craftsmanship. You can feel this profound sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn remnants of physical and mental tension from your body. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent, grounded energy of the ancient workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in total harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear, and peaceful as the polished jade itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The darkness holds you in a state of absolute safety, where nothing can disturb your rest, and nothing is required of you but to simply let go and exist in the quiet peace of the night. The heavy velvet cloak of the desert night has settled completely over the mud brick studio, creating an impenetrable sanctuary of silence where time itself appears to have ceased its forward movement. Deep within the shadows, the master carver remains in a state of profound restorative slumber, his body entirely at peace on the simple sleeping mat. His breathing is a slow rhythmic ebb and flow, a gentle tide of life that matches the quiet pose of the ancient oasis. On the sturdy wooden workbench, the small box containing the white nephrite jade amulet sits in total stillness, a silent guardian of the day's long, meticulous labor. Inside the box, the stone rests in the cool, dark comfort of its wool-lined chamber, its surface perfectly polished and sealed with the faint sweet trace of wild summer beeswax that has long since hardened into a protective glaze. The thick straw reinforced clay walls of the studio are doing their work perfectly, standing as a solid insulating barrier that keeps the interior space warm, stable, and completely shielded from the biting, freezing gusts of wind that sweep across the vast Taklamakan dunes outside. The air inside the room is thick with the scent of history and the grounding earthy aroma of the workshop. The smell of clean stone dust, the rich damp scent of the earth floors, the subtle lingering sweetness of honey, and the faint airy presence of cool wood charcoal. Outside, the world is vast, cold and desolate, with a brilliant frozen sky of stars looking down upon the endless sand. But here, in this small enclosed space, you are cocooned in absolute security. The unworked river stones stacked on the peripheral shelves wait in the darkness with a stoic mineral patience, their presence adding a sense of ancient permanence to the room. In this year of 880 CE, there is no noise, no urgency, and no demand for your attention. The modern world, with its relentless demands and fast pace, is entirely absent, replaced by the slow, beautiful, and deeply grounding reality of this Khotan sanctuary. You can feel your own body aligning with this pace, your muscles becoming loose and heavy as you sink into the comfort of your bed. Any remaining tension in your shoulders, neck, or mind simply evaporates, replaced by a calm, heavy warmth. Your breathing is now as deep and steady as the night itself, a natural flowing rhythm that connects you to the safety of the room. You are completely secure, surrounded by the wisdom of an ancient craft and the stillness of the desert night. Let your mind become entirely empty, as clear and smooth as the surface of the jade, and allow yourself to drift effortlessly into a deep, restorative sleep, knowing that you are fully protected and that there is absolutely nothing left for you to do but rest in this beautiful quiet dark. The silence of the desert expands around you, a vast, comforting presence that cradles your consciousness, leading you deeper into the restorative depths of a dreamless, peaceful night where every breath is a renewal and every moment is filled with the deep, grounding peace of an ancient world that asks for nothing but your presence. The darkness is your friend, a soft and heavy blanket that shields you from all distractions, allowing your spirit to recover its natural rhythm and your mind to find the stillness it has been seeking. The absolute stillness of the late night hours deepens further, drawing a thick curtain of complete serenity over every corner of the mud brick studio. The master carver remains motionless, his form silhouetted in the deep, heavy shadows that have taken full possession of the workshop. The tiny crimson glow that once peeked through the white ash of the charcoal brazier has finally faded into a silent, dark gray warmth, leaving the room at a perfectly stable, comfortable temperature that wraps around you like a heavy, protective wool blanket. The thick clay walls, built with the wisdom of generations of oasis dwellers, hold the thermal energy of the day and the night securely inside, refusing to let even a hint of the freezing Taklamakan Desert air penetrate this small fortress of creative peace. The air is wonderfully calm and rich, holding the deeply grounded and comforting aroma of damp river earth, fine mineral dust, the sweet memory of the summer beeswax, and the clean natural smell of cold wood charcoal. The small wooden box, resting upon the workbench, is completely swallowed by the darkness, yet its presence is felt as an anchor of complete achievement, keeping the finished white nephrite jade amulet perfectly safe from the passing of time. Every single tool, the copper discs, the iron needles, the wooden treadle, is now completely asleep, resting in the quiet dark after a night of perfect and harmonious labor. The vast, empty desert outside continues its cold, silent dance beneath the distant stars. But within these four walls, the world has shrunk down to a single warm point of absolute security and peace. There are no frantic expectations here, no digital interruptions, and no racing thoughts. The entire universe has slowed down to match the deep, timeless patience of the ancient stones that line the hidden shelves. You can feel your own body sinking deeper into this luxury of quietude, your limbs growing wonderfully loose, heavy, and warm as you absorb the stable energy of the room. Your breathing has settled into a slow, effortless, and rhythmic cycle, matching the profound silence that has claimed the workspace. Let your mind fully let go of its remaining anchor points to the waking world, allowing your thoughts to dissolve entirely into the dark, velvety atmosphere of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, perfectly ready to glide downward into a deep, beautiful, and utterly restorative sleep. The silence here is not empty. It is full of history, a weightless, gentle pressure that holds you in place, making the act of resting feel like the most natural thing in the world. As the hours tick by without sound or notice, your mind continues to drift through layers of calm, finding deeper pools of stillness the further you descend into your slumber. The memory of the desert wind outside is distant and harmless, unable to touch the inner sanctity of this room, which remains a lighthouse of warmth against the cold, vast expanse of the night. Every breath you take is a reaffirmation of this peace, a cycle of intake and release that mirrors the slow, steady heartbeat of the earth itself. There is no tomorrow yet, no yesterday remaining, only this infinite now held within the secure clay-thick walls of the studio. Your consciousness is like a leaf floating on a perfectly still pond, untroubled by currents, resting in a state of absolute, profound equilibrium. Feel the texture of the air, the way it presses gently against your skin, grounding you and reassuring you that you are entirely safe. The darkness is not black, but a rich, warm, and inviting indigo that beckons you to let go of the last remnants of vigilance. As you fall further into the sleep, the boundaries of your body seem to soften, merging with the quiet, sturdy comfort of the room. You are part of the history of this place now, a witness to the patience of the stone, the dedication of the maker, and the enduring grace of the desert night. Let your final thoughts fade like the last sparks of the brazier, turning into cold, clean ash, and allow the void of sleep to cradle you in its eternal, silent, and wonderfully restorative arms. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to be done, and no path forward but the one that leads into the deepest, most rejuvenating rest your spirit has ever known, held forever in the timeless, calm, and beautiful embrace of this ancient oasis. The profound ink-like darkness within the ancient mud brick workshop deepens even further, wrapping every corner of the room in an impenetrable blanket of total unblemished tranquility as the late night hours stretch outward toward the far horizon. The master carver remains locked in his deep, restorative slumber upon his simple straw sleeping mat in the furthest corner of the studio. His physical form entirely relaxed and heavy with the satisfying deep fatigue that comes from hours of intense, mindful concentration. His long, slow breathing is the only sound that exists in the entire room, a soft and rhythmic rising and falling that seems to harmonize perfectly with the silent ancient spirit of the oasis itself. On the heavy oak workbench, the small wooden storage box sits completely undisturbed in the deep shadows, serving as a silent sentinel that protects the finished white nephrite jade amulet from the changes of the outside world. Within that small container, The jade rests in absolute safety upon its soft bed of raw sheep's wool, its crystalline structures completely settled and stable after the intense heat and friction of the iron drills, its pristine surface smooth and fragrant under the thin hardened glaze of organic summer beeswax. The thick mud brick walls built with the collective wisdom of generations who understood the harsh, unforgiving nature of the desert climate continue to function flawlessly as a heavy thermal barrier, holding the gentle warmth of the evening's fire inside, while completely shutting out the freezing, whistling winds that sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert. The air within this enclosed sanctuary remains incredibly still, warm and deeply comforting, saturated with the rich, familiar aromas that have defined this creative space for decades. The clean, cool scent of pulverized river stone, the grounding presence of dried earth, the faint, lingering sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, completely smokeless essence of the cooling charcoal brazier outside the heavy timber door. The immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a cold, brilliant canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and perfectly protected this tiny pocket of human artistry truly is. The long rows of unworked river stones and raw jade boulders stacked neatly upon the peripheral wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years within the dark mountain riverbeds before being gathered by the master's hands. In this sacred space, in the peaceful year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic deadlines, the constant digital interruptions, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world simply do not exist. They are completely erased from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest, mindful craftsmanship. You can feel this profound sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn remnants of physical and mental tension from your body. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent, grounded energy of the ancient workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in total harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear, and peaceful as the polished jade itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The darkness holds you in a state of absolute safety, where nothing can disturb your rest and nothing is required of you but to simply let go and exist in the quiet peace of the night. Every heartbeat is a soft drum, keeping time in a world where time has no meaning. A world where the only thing that matters is the deep cellular renewal that occurs in the stillness of the dark. You are safe here, anchored in the reality of the earth and the memory of the stone, far from any turbulence or anxiety, cradled by the very atmosphere of this ancient room. As you descend further, the boundaries of yourself dissolve into the calm, cool air, and you become part of the stillness, a silent observer in a sanctuary of peace that has existed for centuries. The weight of the day has lifted entirely, leaving you light, refreshed, and ready to embrace the void of the deepest sleep, where dreams are quiet and the soul finds its true steady rhythm once more. There is no urgency, no light, no sound, only the profound, beautiful presence of the night protecting you. The absolute velvet stillness of the deep desert night holds the small mud brick studio in a state of perfect, unbroken suspension as the hours crawl toward the eventual dawn. The master carver is completely motionless upon his low sleeping mat in the corner, his breathing an incredibly soft, rhythmic sigh that seems to rise and fall in perfect synchronization with the very walls of the workshop. On the heavy wooden bench, the small wool-lined box remains a silent sentinel of a long night's devotion, its tight wooden grain sealing away the completed white nephrite jade amulet in an environment of total, unblemished darkness. Inside that modest container, the jade has fully cooled, its fine molecular structure settled after the intense friction of the iron drills, its surface permanently smooth and fragrant under the thin hardened glaze of organic summer beeswax. The thick clay and straw walls of the room, baked solid by decades of fierce oasis sun, easily repel the icy, biting winds that continue to sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert, ensuring that the atmosphere inside remains beautifully warm, thick, and completely comfortable. The air within this enclosed sanctuary carries a rich, grounding weight, deeply saturated with the comforting, unchanging aromas of the artisan's life. The cold, clean scent of pulverized river stone, the earthy aroma of dried clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, smokeless essence of the fully spent charcoal embers. Outside, the immense desert landscape stretches out into the blackness under a brilliant frozen canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that only serves to emphasize the profound safety, security, and warmth of this tiny human refuge. The long rows of unwalked river pebbles and raw jade boulders stacked upon the dark wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years in the mountain riverbeds before arriving here. In this ancient workspace, in the year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic pace, constant digital demands, and noisy distractions of the modern world are completely non-existent. They have vanished entirely from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest human craftsmanship. You can feel this immense sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own body, completely relaxing your nervous system and dissolving the very last remnants of physical and mental tension from your day. Your limbs feel incredibly heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent energy of the workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet and clear as the polished stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The vast stillness expands outward, touching the sleeping camels in the nearby caravanserai, their breaths forming faint plumes of white mist in the cold desert air, while inside your cocoon of mud, brick, and straw, the world remains entirely unchanging, safe and still. Every tiny grain of sand outside settles into place, and every element within this sacred room conspires to bring you the deepest, most nourishing rest your soul has ever known. You are entirely at home here, embraced by the history of the materials, the warmth of the earth wardroom, and the quiet dignity of the master's craft. There is nothing to fear and nothing to seek, for everything you need for peace is already here in this heavy, silent, and wonderfully dark space. Let the silence be your guide as you descend further into the abyss of rest, where time loses its meaning and your spirit finds its absolute center, anchored by the weight of the stone and the cool, quiet breath of the desert night. You are complete, you are safe, and you are finally and fully at rest. The deep, resonant silence of the desert night has deepened, casting a heavy, protective mantle of stillness over the entirety of the mud brick workshop. The master carver is now immersed in the deepest stratum of sleep, his body perfectly still, a silent testament to a lifetime of disciplined labor and quiet devotion. His breathing is nearly imperceptible, a faint rhythmic pulse that resonates with the ancient earthen heartbeat of the studio itself. On the workbench, the small wooden box remains an impenetrable vault of calm, housing the white nephrite jade amulet in total cradled darkness. The jade, having undergone its long transformation, now rests in a state of absolute equilibrium, its crystalline lattice finally stilled after the intense heat-generating friction of the iron-cutting tools. The thin, fragrant layer of wild summer beeswax, meticulously applied as a final gesture of protection, remains perfectly hardened, sealing the stone against the very air and preserving its innate cool purity. The mud brick walls, thick with the insulating properties of river silt, straw, and desert heat, have successfully maintained an internal environment of profound, unchanging warmth, utterly indifferent to the freezing, howling gales that continue to scour the crests of the Taklamakan dunes outside. Inside the room, the air feels dense and substantial, rich with the grounding elemental scent of pulverized river stone, the deep musky aroma of dry clay, the ghostly sweet remnants of honey, and the faint, clean trace of the long extinguished charcoal brazier. Outside, the vast cold expanse of the desert reaches out toward the horizon under a canopy of stars that have witnessed the same scene for millennia, emphasizing the extraordinary safety of this small human-built sanctuary. The rows of unworked jade boulders and river stones, stacked with geometric precision upon the peripheral shelves, rest in the deep shadows like sleeping monoliths, their presence a grounding, silent weight that reinforces the stability of the space. In this year 880 CE, the frantic, jagged edges of the outside world, with its endless demands, its constant noise, and its relentless, illusory urgency, have been completely erased, replaced by the slow, organic, and profoundly honest reality of an oasis craftsman's life. You can feel this immense mineral-like stability flowing directly into your own physical form, soothing your nervous system and dissolving the final stubborn knots of tension that have held your muscles tight throughout the day. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and loose, sinking deeply into the soft, comforting fabric of your bed as the silent, grounded energy of the workshop envelops you. Your breathing has slowed to a deep, natural, and perfectly steady cadence, perfectly synchronized with the quiet, dark currents of the oasis night. Let your remaining thoughts dissolve entirely into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear, and peaceful as the polished stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The vast, silent desert air presses gently against the walls of the room, a cold, vast ocean that only serves to make your inner warm sanctuary feel more secure and more profound. There is no tomorrow for you to worry about, no tasks to complete, and no expectations to meet. There is only the present defined by the weight of the air, the warmth of the room, and the depth of your own peaceful rest. Every heartbeat is a slow, rhythmic drum in the vast cathedral of the night, a sound that signals your total release from the burdens of the waking world. You are drifting deeper into the dark, velvety ocean of sleep, where every sensation is soft, every thought is muted, and every breath is a gift of pure, unadulterated peace. The history of this place, the memory of the stones, and the spirit of the maker all contribute to a feeling of utter profound safety, cradling your consciousness as you sink down into the deepest, most nourishing rest your soul has ever known. You are entirely held, entirely protected, and entirely at peace, lost in the beautiful, silent heart of the oasis. The profound ink-like darkness within the ancient mud brick workshop deepens even further, wrapping every corner of the room in an impenetrable blanket of total unblemished tranquility as the late night hours stretch outward toward the far horizon. The master carver remains locked in his deep, restorative slumber upon his simple straw sleeping mat in the furthest corner of the studio, his physical form entirely relaxed and heavy with the satisfying deep fatigue that comes from hours of intense mindful concentration. His long, slow breathing is the only sound that exists in the entire room, a soft and rhythmic rising and falling that seems to harmonize perfectly with the silent, ancient spirit of the oasis itself. On the heavy oak workbench, the small wooden storage box sits completely undisturbed in the deep shadows, serving as a silent sentinel that protects the finished white nephrite jade amulet from the changes of the outside world. Within that small container, the jade rests in absolute safety upon its soft bed of raw sheep's wool, its crystalline structures completely settled and stable after the intense heat and friction of the iron drills, its pristine surface smooth and fragrant under the thin, hardened glaze of organic summer beeswax. The thick mud brick walls, built with the collective wisdom of generations who understood the harsh, unforgiving nature of the desert climate, continued to function flawlessly as a heavy thermal barrier, holding the gentle warmth of the evening's fire inside, while completely shutting out the freezing, whistling winds that sweep across the outer dunes of the Taklamakan Desert. The air within this enclosed sanctuary remains incredibly still, warm and deeply comforting, saturated with the rich familiar aromas that have defined this creative space for decades. The clean, cool scent of pulverized riverstone, the grounding presence of dried earth, the faint, lingering sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, completely smokeless essence of the cooling charcoal brazier. Outside the heavy timber door, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a cold, brilliant canopy of countless ancient stars, an endless ocean of sand that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and perfectly protected this tiny pocket of human artistry truly is. The long rows of unworked river stones and raw jade boulders stacked neatly upon the peripheral wooden shelves sleep undisturbed in the deep shadows, embodying a profound mineral patience that has lasted for thousands of years within the dark mountain riverbeds before being gathered by the master's hands. In this sacred space, in the peaceful year 880 of the Common Era, the frantic deadlines, the constant digital interruptions, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world simply do not exist. They are completely erased from reality, replaced by the slow, enduring truth of natural materials and the quiet satisfaction of honest, mindful craftsmanship. You can feel this profound sense of completion and timeless safety flowing directly into your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn remnants of physical and mental tension from your body. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and deeply relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the comfort of your bed as the silent, grounded energy of the ancient workshop wraps around you like a protective talisman. Your breathing slows to a very deep, natural, and perfectly steady rhythm, moving in total harmony with the gentle, unseen currents of the oasis night. Let all your remaining thoughts melt away into the velvety, dark spaces of the room, allowing your mind to become as quiet, clear, and peaceful as the polished jade itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet, and comforting embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The darkness holds you in a state of absolute safety, where nothing can disturb your rest and nothing is required of you, but to simply let go and exist in the quiet peace of the night. Every heartbeat is a soft drum keeping time in a world where time has no meaning, a world where the only thing that matters is the deep cellular renewal that occurs in the stillness of the dark. You are safe here, anchored in the reality of the earth and the memory of the stone, far from any turbulence or anxiety, cradled by the very atmosphere of this ancient room. As you descend further, the boundaries of yourself dissolve into the calm, cool air, and you become part of the stillness, a silent observer in a sanctuary of peace that has existed for centuries. The weight of the day has lifted entirely, leaving you light, refreshed, and ready to embrace the void of the deepest sleep, where dreams are quiet, and the soul finds its true steady rhythm once more. There is no urgency, no light, no sound, only the profound, beautiful presence of the night protecting you. The entire universe seems to have shrunk to the size of this room, a tiny golden ember of safety amidst a vast cold expanse, and you are the honored guest in this temple of quiet industry. Feel the floor beneath you, solid and unmoving, a testament to the earth that binds all things together. Let the silence speak to your spirit, offering a lullaby of ancient rhythms and forgotten dreams that invite your consciousness to wander freely through the halls of rest. There is nothing to achieve, no goal to reach, only the simple, holy act of existing in this state of total, unadulterated relaxation. You are breathing in the legacy of the jade, the spirit of the craftsman, and the cool, patient silence of the mountains that feed the rivers, all of which converge here to give you the most profound, healing rest you have ever known. Let the darkness take you, for it is not a void but a cradle, holding you securely until the morning and long after. The deep, velvety darkness of the mud brick studio holds its breath as the night reaches its absolute quietest peak, just before the very first invisible shifts of the distant dawn. The master carver is completely motionless, lost in a profound, dreamless slumber that restores his body and clears his mind after the long, intense hours of artistic creation. His slow, rhythmic breathing is the only living sound in the entire workshop, a gentle, soothing rise and fall that acts as a natural lullaby for the silent space. Go out on the heavy oak workbench. The small wooden box remains perfectly still, a tiny secure fortress protecting the completed white nephrite jade amulet from the external world. Inside that box, the jade rests in its bed of soft sheep's wool, its surface completely stabilized and smooth, holding the hidden warmth of the master's hands and the sweet protective sealing of the wild summer beeswax deep within its mineral body. The thick mud brick walls, mixed with desert straw and river silt, continue to perform their ancient duty with absolute perfection, holding the gentle, lingering warmth of the evening's fire inside, while completely blocking out the freezing, biting winds of the great Taklamakan Desert. The air within the room is thick, stationary, and incredibly comforting, saturated with the grounding, familiar aromas that have defined this sanctuary for decades. The deep mineral scent of pulverized river stone, the earthy trace of dry clay, the faint sweetness of wild honey, and the clean, completely silent essence of coal wood, charcoal ash. Outside, the immense desert landscape stretches out for hundreds of miles under a canopy of cold, brilliant stars, an endless ocean of sand dunes that emphasizes just how safe, warm, and protected this tiny pocket of human craftsmanship truly is. The rows of unworked river stones on the peripheral shelves remain hidden in the dark, resting in a state of absolute eternal patience, entirely content to wait for days, months, or years until their turn comes to be shaped by the master's hand. In this sacred space, the frantic deadlines, the digital noise, and the exhausting pressures of the modern world do not exist. They are completely erased, replaced by the slow, enduring, and beautiful reality of an ancient oasis town in the year 880 Common Era. You can feel this profound mineral stability washing over your own consciousness, soothing your nervous system and melting away the final stubborn knots of tension in your muscles. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, warm, and relaxed, sinking deeply into the soft fabric of your bed as you absorb the absolute security of the room. Your breathing slows down to a deep, effortless, and perfectly rhythmic cadence, moving in complete harmony with the silent currents of the night. Let your remaining thoughts dissolve entirely into the soft, protective shadows around you, allowing your mind to become as still and clear as the stone itself. Surrender completely to the heavy, sweet embrace of this ancient Khotan sanctuary, and let yourself drift away into a profound, unbroken, and beautifully restorative sleep. The silence here is a physical presence, a weightless, gentle pressure that envelops you, sealing you away from the chaotic demands of time. Every breath you take is synchronized with the slow, steady rhythm of the desert, a vast ancient heartbeat that has pulsed through these dunes for eons. The memory of the day, its trials, its conversations, its minor frustrations, fades into insignificance, losing its power over your spirit as you sink into the cradle of this quiet, dark. You are unburdened, untethered, and entirely at peace, held by the strength of the mud brick walls and the eternal patience of the stones stored on the shelves. There is no urgency in this place, only the slow natural cycles of the earth and the steady progress of the stars across the sky outside. As your mind settles, you become aware of a deep resonant calm that radiates from the center of your chest, spreading warmth to your fingertips and toes, inviting a complete, total relaxation. This is the sanctuary you have sought, a place where you can be truly still, truly present, and truly at rest. The darkness is not empty, but full of possibilities, a rich, dark tapestry that invites you to lose yourself in its depths. Feel the texture of the air, cool and clean, washing over your face as you release the last of your alertness. You are floating in a sea of tranquility, drifting toward a horizon where there is no horizon, only the boundless, beautiful void of deep sleep. Everything is in its right place. The master is resting, the tools are stilled, the jade is safe, and you are sheltered by the ancient wisdom of a world that knows nothing of the frantic pace of the future. Let the night carry you, let the silence cradle you, and let the peace of this forgotten oasis become the foundation of your recovery. You are drifting into the deepest, most nourishing rest imaginable, safe, secure, and entirely home. The final lingering echoes of the desert night reach their absolute zenith, a moment of profound cosmic alignment where the past, the present, and the eternal stillness merge into a single breathtaking point of silence. The master carver is utterly surrendered to his rest, a figure of peaceful completion whose steady, rhythmic breath has become the heartbeat of the studio itself. His long, callous hands, so vital for the shaping of the nephrite, now lie soft and still upon his mat, having fulfilled their purpose for this cycle of time. Upon the heavy oak bench, the wood-lined box remains the guardian of the silent treasure, the white nephrite jade, now fully at rest, its surface holding the lingering warmth of human touch and the protective sweet essence of beeswax. This small sealed container holds the culmination of all the labor, the focus, and the unwavering intent of the day, standing as a quiet monument to the beauty of patient creation. The thick earthen walls of the workshop, having faithfully insulated this sanctuary against the vast freezing indifference of the Taklamakan dunes, now seem to glow with a soft residual heat, as if the room itself is sighing in contentment. Outside, the eternal stars continue their slow, majestic procession across the black velvet canopy of the sky, witnessing the quietude of this hidden oasis that remains untouched by the relentless demands of a distant, noisy future. Within these walls, the year 88 CE is not a memory, but a living, breathing reality of peace and elemental truth. You feel this profound sense of resolution washing through your entire being, a final gentle release of all lingering effort, tension, and thought. Your body has become one with the stillness, heavy, grounded, and perfectly at ease, sinking into the depths of a rest that is both ancient and entirely new. There is no longer any separation between you and the quiet sanctuary of the studio. You are part of the mortar, part of the wood, part of the silent waiting stone. As the last remnants of consciousness fade, they do not disappear. They transform into the pure, wordless peace of this deep sleep. You are drifting on a sea of utter tranquility, where time has no edges and the soul finds its ultimate home. Every breath is a whisper of grace, every heartbeat a soft chime of belonging, and every moment is a perfect suspended drop of eternity. The darkness is no longer a void, but a warm velvet cradle that holds you with the gentle, unwavering strength of the earth itself. There is nothing left to achieve, no threshold to cross, and no path left to travel. You have arrived, you are safe, and you are held in the profound, beautiful embrace of the night. As you finally slip into the deepest, most restorative depths of the silence, let the memory of this oasis be the last thing you hold. The scent of the stone, the warmth of the earth, the presence of the master, and the exquisite, unbreakable peace of the jade. You are resting in the heart of the world, in the stillness of the desert, in the eternal calm of a work well done. May this rest endure, may this silence heal, and may the beauty of this moment be the anchor that keeps your spirit quiet, grounded, and whole. Long after the dawn begins to trace the edges of the horizon, sleep now, in the perfect timeless safety of the oasis, for everything is complete, everything is right, and you are entirely, beautifully at peace.
Sleepy History Tales is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purposes.
The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history, but they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source.
While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation.
Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study.
By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.